My wife is a beautiful CEO. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 576 Arrest Operation. Brother, will Su Chen be okay? Yuzinayu said worriedly. Yufei shook his head and comforted him. Don't worry. Su Chen is not stupid. He will definitely protect himself. Yuzinayu sighed. Su Chen is a sentimental person. That Guan Yuanshan seems to be considered a friend by him. According to Su Chen's personality, he is likely to stand up for Guan Yuanshan. In this case, Su Chen is likely to face off against the Wu Meng. There are so many experts there, I'm really scared. Yuzinayu became more and more worried. In fact, Yufei also had this worry, but in front of his sister, he could only comfort her first. Zinayu, don't worry, Mr. Su is a man who knows what's going on and won't do anything rash, and Mr. Su's strength may be far beyond our imagination. Yufei comforted her. Yes. Yuzinayu smiled. Perhaps, the leader of the Wu Meng is not Su Chen's opponent. Seeing Yuzinayu's confident smile, Yufei was a little confused. He was just comforting his sister. What a result. She is more confident than herself. Yufei was about to persuade his sister not to be so blindly confident. Suddenly, knock. There was a knock on the door. Yufei was startled and asked, who is it? Mr. Yu, Miss Zinayu's bodyguard is here for you. Su Chen's voice suddenly rang out. Su Chen. Yuzinayu jumped up and ran to the door. Bang. She opened the door immediately. Sure enough, Su Chen, Jiang Jian and Jiang Dao were standing outside the door. Su Chen, you are awesome. Yuzinayu was so excited that she almost jumped into Su Chen's arms. If her brother and the Jiang brothers were not there, Yufei hurried forward. Mr. Su, thank you for your hard work. Please come in. Su Chen smiled and stepped into the room. Yufei looked at the Jiang brothers and his face lit up. He asked, who are these two? Su Chen smiled and said, these two are the top Xianshan masters of the Wu League, Mr. Jiang Jian and Mr. Jiang Dao. They are brothers. From now on, these two will protect Miss Zinayu. Yufei was surprised. Great. Mr. Su, thank you. Yufei was very excited. With two top Xianshan masters, he didn't have to worry at all. Yufei asked, Mr. Su, I wonder what the price of these two is. Mr. Yu, we don't need you to pay. Jiang Dao smiled. Yufei was stunned and waved his hands quickly. How can this be? No. Su Chen smiled and explained. Don't worry, Mr. Yu. The money will be paid by Mr. Zhang Longhu, the leader of the Wu League. As long as you are willing, you can hire the Jiang brothers at any time. Yufei and Yuzinayu were dumbfounded. What is this condition? You know, a top Xianshan master basically costs 20 to 30 million. The Jiang brothers are special, and I'm afraid they will cost at least 60 to 70 million per month. As a result, the Wu Meng alliance was actually going to be given away for free. Yuzinayu looked at Su Chen with a puzzled look and asked, Su Chen, what's going on? Su Chen smiled. Nothing. It's just that I hit it off with alliance leader Zhang, so he took good care of me. Jiang Jian and Jiang Dao's mouths twitched. What a hit it off. If you hadn't almost defeated the Wu Meng alliance and made the alliance leader vomit blood, Zhang Longhu wouldn't have been so polite. Yuzinayu was delighted. Su Chen, you're so amazing. I knew you could do it. You can actually make friends with the alliance leader. So amazing. On the side, Yufei's eyes flashed. He was better at observing people's words and expressions than Yuzinayu. Yufei understood that Su Chen must have done earth-shaking things in the Wu Meng alliance. Otherwise, the Wu Meng alliance would never offer such generous conditions. Su Chen didn't say anything, so Yufei naturally stopped asking. He laughed and said, Mr. Su, thank you for helping me solve another big problem. Let's go to the private room now. I have arranged for the chef to prepare a table of good banquets, waiting to entertain you and the two masters. Su Chen nodded. It was just lunchtime. Moreover, before the banquet, it would be convenient for the Yu brothers and sisters to get to know the Jiang brothers better. Under the leadership of Yufei, everyone went to a luxurious private room. Soon, a table of good banquets was served. Yu Fei and Zhu Wanqiu immediately asked what happened. Su Chen briefly explained it. When they heard about Guan Yuanshan's miserable condition, they looked nervous. When they talked about Zhou Lianji's despicable and shameless, they were even more angry. When they talked about Qi Yao's sneak attack, Yu Wanqiu almost cursed in the street. However, Su Chen did not explain what happened in the Wumeng later. After all, Jiang Dao and Jiang Jian were still there, and Su Chen had to save some face for the Wumeng. In addition, Su Chen always felt a little self-praise when he talked about such things. He simply lied, saying that after the leader of the Wumeng Zhang Lang who knew the truth, he directly administered justice. However, even so, the Yu brothers and sisters were very excited to hear it. Mr. Su, you are so awesome. Thank you for your help. As they spoke, Yu Fei and Zhu Wanqiu began to toast again. On the side, Jiang Dao and Jiang Jian brothers also kept toasting Su Chen. Seeing this scene, Yu Fei was even more certain that Su Chen was definitely not that simple in the Wumeng. Soon, Su Chen and others had enough food and wine. At this time, ding-ling-ling, Su Chen's cell phone rang. He looked down and saw that it was the leader of the Shenhao team, Pei Zhenshang. He answered the phone. Hello, team leader Pei, what can I do for you? Su Chen asked. Pei Zhenshang said, Mr. Su, Captain Qin asked me to ask you if you have anything to do this afternoon. Su Chen was startled. Didn't Qin Qingmei have her own phone? She insisted on asking Pei Zhenshang. This woman is still putting on airs. Nothing. What's wrong? Su Chen said. Pei Zhenshang said excitedly, that's great. Before, didn't you tell Captain Qin that, as long as we lure out the poisonous swift, you can catch her? Captain Qin just wants to find you to confirm the time. If possible, we can lure Jiang Yuan out this afternoon. Su Chen was stunned. He almost forgot. Jiang Yuan arranged for the delivery man Liu Zhu gang to almost kill Yao Shan. Su Chen promised Yao Zhenfeng that he would catch Jiang Yuan and find out who was dealing with Yao Shan. Okay. Give me an address and a time, and I'll go there. Pei Zhenshang nodded. Okay. I'll send it to your phone later. Mr. Su, you must do your best this time. You must catch that Jiang Yuan, and give us the Tiger Guards a vengeance. Su Chen laughed. Are you still angry? Pei Zhenshang said angrily. You don't know how arrogant this woman is. Relying on her own powerful body skills, she not only madly provoked us, but also killed many of our colleagues. Because of him, our Dongzhou province Tiger Guards lost the qualification for evaluation. Even, they were laughed at by other provinces. Su Chen nodded. Don't worry. Since I asked you to lure her out, I will naturally find a way to catch her. Yeah. Pei Zhenshang was very excited. Soon, the two hung up the phone. Pei Zhenshang also sent the time and place to Su Chen's mobile phone. Looking at the place where the Tiger Guards were going to capture Jiang Yuan, Su Chen was stunned. Unexpectedly, it was a flight center. A place related to airplanes? What is going on? Su Chen was a little puzzled. Next chapter, around 2 o'clock. Let's go to bed first. Chapter 577 believed to the end. Su Chen did not think about it anymore. Anyway, we should be able to find out when we get to the flight center. After finishing the meal, Su Chen said hello to Yu Fei and his sister, and left directly. Su Chen took a taxi and headed towards the flight center. On the way, ding-ling-ling, Su Chen received a call. Looking down, it was actually Yao Nana's call. Answered. Hello, Su Chen, are you going to deal with that Jiang Yuan? Yao Nana asked. Su Chen smiled. You are well informed. Yao Nana said, then you must pay attention to safety. If you really can't catch that woman, forget it. Su Chen nodded and said, don't worry. As long as the other party is lured out, I should be able to catch her. After all, she is only an innate realm. That's good. Yao Nana was relieved. Then my grandfather and I will wait for your good news. Hang up the phone. Su Chen smiled. It seems that the reputation of Poison Swift is still very loud. Even Yao Nana and Yao Zhenfeng have heard about her difficulty. I just don't know what method Qin Qingmei used to lure her out. Soon, Su Chen arrived at the flight center. When he arrived, Su Chen found that this place could also be regarded as a small airport. There were some private planes and even helicopters parked here. Pei Zhenshang was waiting at the door. When he saw Su Chen arrive, he hurried to greet him. "Mr. Su, you are here." Su Chen smiled. "Where is Captain Qin?" Bincheng smiled and said, "Captain Qin is waiting for you inside. Today, all of us, the Tiger Guards, are waiting for you to vent our anger. You must help us catch that bitch and avenge our dead team leaders." Su Chen nodded. He had heard that the Tiger Guards had surrounded Jiang Yuan before. As a result, not only did they fail to catch this woman, but she killed several Tiger Guards team leaders. It makes sense. Jiang Yuan is a master of the Xianshan realm, and her speed is almost invincible. Most of the leaders of the Tiger Catching Guards are masters of Zhou Wanqiu. It is normal for them to be killed instantly when they meet such an opponent. Then, Pei Zhenshang led Su Chen to a helipad. Along the way, Su Chen found that there were many strong auras hidden nearby, and many Tiger Catching Guards were dressed as staff. It seems that the Tiger Catching Guards have also prepared a lot of troops. At the helipad, a helicopter was parked there, and Qin Qingmei was standing aside. Seeing Su Chen coming, her expression changed slightly. "You are here?" Qin Qingmei raised her eyebrows. Su Chen nodded and asked, "Captain Qin, are we waiting for Jiang Yuan here? Will she come?" Qin Qingmei smiled. "She will definitely come." Su Chen was a little puzzled and asked, "Why?" Qin Qingmei sneered and said, "Because, in a while, someone she dreams of killing will come here. If she doesn't come, I'm afraid she will never have the chance to kill this person again in this life." Su Chen's eyes lit up. It turned out that Qin Qingmei actually used this method to force Jiang Yuan. "What is the identity of that person?" Su Chen asked. Qin Qingmei explained, "The man's name is Yu Langxing, and he is also a martial arts practitioner. It's just that a few years ago, because of a dispute, he had a conflict with Jiang Yuan's husband, and the two fought. In the end, Yu Langxing seriously injured Jiang Yuan's husband. Later, Jiang Yuan's husband died due to other accidents. But she hated Yu Langxing. She relied on her unparalleled speed to hunt Yu Langxing everywhere. Yu Langxing was forced to commit crimes deliberately, and then ran to our Qinhui to surrender, asking to be imprisoned in Qinhui prison for self-protection." Su Chen was stunned after hearing this. "There is such a thing." Qin Qingmei sighed and said, "We also caught Yu Langxing, and only found out about this when Jiang Yuan came to our door. But the Tiger Capture Guard had already imprisoned Yu Langxing. How could they let him be killed?" Later, this crazy woman began to target the Tiger Capture Guard and constantly disrupted our mission. She even started to sneak attack and kill members of the Tiger Capture Guard to force us to give in. Finally, we couldn't stand it anymore, so we set up a net and even used the gods to capture her. The result. At this point, Qin Qingmei's eyes were full of anger, and she didn't say anything more. However, Su Chen already knew the result. Jiang Yuan was not caught, and even killed several leaders of the Tiger Capture Guard and walked away. Su Chen was very surprised. It was really arrogant. This Jiang Yuan was also blinded by hatred. The Tiger Capture Guard is an official violent agency. How could it be easily coerced by her? She actually wanted to use this method to force the Tiger Capture Guard to release people. She really thought too much. If the Tiger Guards give in, because of her coercion, they will lose their authority and even attract more people to follow suit. This is definitely unacceptable to the Tiger Guards. Su Chen asked, "What about Yu Langxing?" Qin Qingmei said, "Someone will send him here in a while. The news we released to the public is that Yu Langxing will be sent away by plane today and imprisoned somewhere else. If Jiang Yuan hears about it, she will definitely come here to kill him today. Otherwise, she will never have another chance in her life." Su Chen frowned and said, "Then Jiang Yuan should be able to guess that this is a trap for her." Qin Qingmei's face was slightly cold and said, "That woman is very conceited. Even if she can guess it, she won't take us seriously. After all, we didn't catch her, even if we used the strong men in the god realm before." Su Chen nodded. Suddenly, he thought of another possibility. "By the way, Jiang Yuan won't hijack the car on the way, right?" Qin Qingmei smiled. "Don't worry. We have already thought of the possibility you mentioned. We arranged more than one car, and they will come here from different routes. Then Jiang Yuan can't judge at all which car Yu Langxing, whom she wants to kill, is in. Moreover, she dare not gamble, because if she chooses the wrong one, Yu Langxing may be sent to the plane by us." Su Chen was relieved immediately. King Mui considered things very comprehensively and carefully. In this way, it seems that Jiang Yuan really came here to take action, so this is a way to go. At this time, King Mui turned her head and looked at Su Chen. By the way, you haven't told me yet, how are you going to deal with Jiang Yuan? Su Chen said, just wait for her to show up, and then catch her. King Mui was stunned, her beautiful eyes widened. What did you say? Su Chen looked puzzled. Just wait for Jiang Yuan to show up, and then take action to catch her. King Mui's face changed instantly. She stared at Su Chen. You didn't prepare any traps, formations, poisons, talismans, etc. Nothing prepared. Su Chen shook his head. King Mui's face darkened. You didn't prepare any plans either? Su Chen shook his head again. It's just to capture Jiang Yuan. What plan is needed? However, King Mui frowned. She stared at Su Chen and said coldly, Su Chen, do you know how much hope we, the Tiger Guard, have for this operation? I know. Su Chen nodded. Jiang Yuan caused the Tiger Guard to suffer such a huge loss, which was both embarrassing and costly. The Tiger Guard must want to kill her immediately. Seeing Su Chen taking it for granted, King Mui scolded. Since you know, why don't you make any preparations? You told me before that you were 80% sure you could catch her, and I chose to believe you. In the end, you lied to me like this? Su Chen said, I didn't lie to you. As long as Jiang Yuan shows up, I really have 80%. No, now, I have 100% confidence. Hearing this, King Mui was furious. That's just nonsense. You don't know how powerful Jiang Yuan is. She has a speed that even the gods can't catch up with. You are so ignorant. I'm going to make you angry to death. King Mui frowned and walked back and forth, as if thinking of other ways. Su Chen said indifferently, Captain Qin, since you chose to arrange this arrest, because you trust me, why not trust me to the end? King Mui stopped and looked at Su Chen. Su Chen looked indifferent. Finally, King Mui gritted her teeth and said, okay, I'll see how you catch her. 3 chapters today. I'll try to resume 4 chapters tomorrow. Chapter 578 Old Enemy. There was dissatisfaction and helplessness in King Mui's tone. If we fail this time, I'm afraid we will be laughed at again. Su Chen said, don't worry. As long as that Jiang Yuan wants to kill you Langsing, I will definitely catch him. King Mui rolled her eyes. That's easy to say. Tell me, how do we need to cooperate with you? Su Chen thought about it and shook his head. No need to cooperate much, I can do it myself. By the way, you should collect all the hidden Tiger Guards for Jiang Yuan. Unless there are so many of them that they form a human wall, they can't stop her at all. King Mui was stunned and finally nodded helplessly. She also understood that Su Chen was right. Jiang Yuan is a master of the Xianshan realm. Even if it is a master of Zhuanjin facing her, he may only be able to stop her for a moment. This is still the case when Jiang Yuan is unwilling to take a detour. If Jiang Yuan is determined to hide, no matter how hard these people try, ordinary members of the Tiger Guard will not cause her any trouble. Then, King Mui took out her mobile phone and made a call. After a while, dozens of tiger catching guards wearing various clothes gathered again. There were 4 people leading the group. The one walking in front was Pei Zhenchang. There was another person, whom Su Chen also knew, and had some unpleasant experiences with, the leader of the Yinhu group, Feng Linhei. At the beginning, Su Chen had a conflict with Wu Chaoxiang of the Yinhu group and killed him. After that, he killed Wu Daoning, the deputy leader of the Yinhu group, and 2 ordinary members. It can be said that Su Chen made the Yinhu group lose face. Finally, under the coercion of King Mui, Feng Linhei went to Su Chen to admit his mistake. But because of his attitude, he was dug back by Su Chen. So, when Feng Linhei saw Su Chen, his face suddenly darkened. The other 2 people were a man and a woman, 2 middle-aged people. Su Chen did not know them. One of them was a tall middle-aged man. For some reason, Su Chen felt that his eyes were quite unfriendly. The other one was a middle-aged woman. Su Chen immediately understood. These 4 people are most likely the 4 team leaders of the Tiger Guard. Su Chen glanced at King Mui. It seems that the Tiger Guard and Jiang Yuan really have a big grudge. In order to deal with her, they even arranged 4 groups to ambush. Seeing these 4 people coming, Qin Mui briefly introduced them to Su Chen. Su Chen, these 4 are the team leaders of our Tiger Guard. You should know Pei Zhenxiang, the leader of the monkey group, and Feng Linhei, the leader of the tiger group. And this lady is the leader of the rabbit group of our Tiger Guard, Mao Ruping. Mao Ruping nodded at Su Chen. Su Chen also smiled and greeted. Finally, Qin Mui pointed to a tall middle-aged man. This one is the leader of our rat group, named Gao Pengfei. The voice fell. Humph. Suddenly, Gao Pengfei snorted coldly. Su Chen looked at Gao Pengfei and was slightly startled. He finally figured out why this man looked at him with hostility. It turned out that this guy also had a grudge against him. Before, when Su Chen was in Weicheng, he stood up for Yuan Kizu's husband Wu Anping at Bishu Villa and beat Kang Liliang. Moreover, he also seized evidence of him using the poison needle to cut off the veins and sent him to the prison of Qinhui. Kang Liliang's father, Kang Zuantong, was the candidate for the deputy leader of the Qinhui rat group, and he was also Gao Pengfei's right-hand man. Kang Zuantong came to make trouble for his son, but was also taught a lesson by Su Chen. Leading Guan and Pei Zhenxiang voted against Kang Zuantong because of Su Chen, so that he could not become the deputy leader of the rat group. These 2 things became thorns in Gao Pengfei's heart. Because of this, he didn't have a good face for Su Chen. At that time, leading Guan and Pei Zhenxiang also reminded Su Chen that Gao Pengfei, the leader of the rat group, was more protective of his shortcomings. Su Chen didn't take it seriously. Now it seems that it is true. Gao Pengfei looked at Su Chen with a bad look. He stepped forward. You are Su Chen, right? Gao Pengfei stared at Su Chen. Su Chen nodded. Yes, what advice do you have for me, team leader Gao? Everyone also saw that Gao Pengfei seemed to have a lot of opinions about Su Chen, and their faces changed slightly. Pei Zhenxiang was a little anxious when he saw this scene. Feng Linhei, on the other hand, was gloating. Su Chen had once made his tiger group lose face, so he was eager for Su Chen to make a fool of himself. Qin Mui stood aside, her expression very calm, and no one knew what she was thinking. Gao Pengfei looked at Su Chen and sneered. Are you very powerful? First, you injured my people, and then you let leading Guan and Pei Zhenxiang interfere in the selection of the deputy team leader of my rat group. Pei Zhenxiang spoke before Su Chen opened his mouth. Team leader Gao, what are you doing? Isn't the Kang Zuantong incident over? Besides, the Weicheng incident was caused by Kang Zuantong's son Kang Liliang using a vein-breaking poison needle to harm people. Kang Zuantong wanted to cover up for him, so he was taught a lesson by Mr. Su. In addition, leading Guan and I stopped Kang Zuantong from becoming the deputy team leader, because we thought he had a bad character. This matter has nothing to do with Mr. Su. Pei Zhenxiang explained. Gao Pengfei said coldly, shut up. This is between him and me. Pei Zhenxiang was stunned and very angry. Feng Linhei smiled even more. He liked to watch this kind of excitement. If Su Chen could lose face, he would be even happier. Mao Ruping, the leader of the rabbit group, frowned. They haven't even started working together yet. Why did it suddenly become a fuss? Su Chen looked at Qin Mui. As a result, she looked at him with a half smile. It was like watching a show, and it seemed like she wanted to see how Su Chen would deal with it. Su Chen looked at Gao Pengfei coldly. I taught him a lesson. But don't you see what he did? Gao Pengfei said coldly, no matter what he did, it's our rat group's business. And he is also my Gao Pengfei's man. You are not qualified to manage it. Gao Pengfei looked arrogant. I'm not qualified to manage it? Su Chen sneered. The next second, he suddenly raised his hand, like lightning. Snap. A slap hit Gao Pengfei's face hard. Gao Pengfei didn't react at all, and he flew backwards, as if hit by a pendulum, and fell more than 10 meters away. Puff. He spurted out a mouthful of blood. For a moment, everyone was stunned. They didn't expect that Su Chen would act so decisively. Facing a leader of the Tiger Guard, he didn't show any mercy and acted directly. Pei Zhenxiang widened his eyes and didn't know what to say. Mao Ruping was stunned, and her heart was already in a mess. The arrest of Jiang Yuan hasn't started yet, and she started fighting first. Feng Linhei, on the other hand, was timidly delighted. Su Chen humiliated a leader of the Tiger Guard in public. Even if Qin Mui wanted to be partial, she had to consider the reputation of the Tiger Guard. Gao Pengfei fell to the ground and struggled to get up. He covered his face with disbelief. "How dare you hit me?" Su Chen said indifferently. "Didn't you get slapped? Do you want to get slapped again to confirm it? If you don't accept it, I'll stand here. Come here and hit me back." Gao Pengfei's face was extremely ugly. He gritted his teeth and said angrily, "Asshole, I'll fight you." Gao Pengfei stomped on the ground and rushed towards Su Chen. On the side, Pei Zhenxiang looked anxious. He was about to stop him. Suddenly, a terrifying energy locked onto him. Pei Zhenxiang was stunned, suddenly raised his head, and looked at Qin Mui. Chapter 579. Who is the outsider? Pei Zhenxiang was dumbfounded. He just wanted to jump out and stop the conflict between Gao Pengfei and Su Chen. As a result, he was locked by Qin Mui's aura. It seemed that, as long as he moved, Qin Mui would attack him. Pei Zhenxiang looked at Qin Mui. She looked indifferent, as if nothing had happened. Pei Zhenxiang understood immediately. It turned out that Qin Mui also wanted to see Su Chen teach Gao Pengfei a lesson. Gao Pengfei's footsteps were fast. In an instant, he rushed to Su Chen. Then, he attacked Su Chen brazenly. However, the next second, Su Chen just slightly turned sideways to avoid his attack. Then, snap. Another slap hit Gao Pengfei's face hard. Puff. Gao Pengfei vomited blood again and flew backwards. Bang. Gao Pengfei's body fell hard to the ground. He struggled to get up and looked at Su Chen with a look of doubt. Even if he reacted slowly, he realized a problem. He was not Su Chen's opponent at all. On the side, Feng Linhei also swallowed his saliva. He was also frightened by Su Chen's attack. The Su Chen he met this time seemed to be much more powerful than the last time he met him. Su Chen looked at Gao Pengfei coldly. "Now, am I qualified?" Gao Pengfei's face was dark and red. "Or, you can find Captain Qin again and ask her, a powerful person in the God realm, to help you get back your face." Su Chen mocked. In an instant, Gao Pengfei's face became even uglier. At this time, Gao Pengfei gritted his teeth and looked at Qin Mui. "Captain Qin, are you just going to watch such an outsider bully me, the leader of the Tiger Guard?" Everyone turned their heads and looked at Qin Mui. However, Qin Mui said lightly, "Team leader Gao, apologize to Su Chen." In an instant, Gao Pengfei was stunned. The other Tiger Guards around him were also stunned. Gao Pengfei looked dissatisfied. He roared, "Captain Qin, this guy hit me, and I have to apologize to him?" Qin Mui said lightly, "We know the whole story of Kang Zuantang and his son. Your attack on Su Chen was a mistake in itself, and you deserve to be beaten." Gao Pengfei looked excited. "Captain Qin, are you really going to favor an outsider?" "Outsider?" Qin Mui sneered again and again. "Who is an outsider?" At this point, she pointed at Su Chen and said, "The person you question is called Su Chen. He is my Qin Mui's savior. He holds my Qin Mui's consultant ring, and he is a senior consultant of our Qin Mui. Such a person, you tell me he is an outsider? I don't know. As a senior consultant of Qin Mui, do you have the qualifications to teach your Gao Pengfei's team members? Do you have the qualifications to stop Kang Zuantang from being the deputy team leader?" Qin Mui said one sentence after another, directly to Gao Pengfei's face. Gao Pengfei looked ugly. He didn't know at all that Su Chen had become a senior consultant of Qin Mui. In this way, his status is no worse than his own. Su Chen even represented Qin Mui's face and had the right to supervise the discipline of each group on behalf of the special operations team. Qin Mui continued to scold, "Because of injuries, I haven't supervised the discipline of your groups for a long time. Now I know that you team leaders are very powerful and your tempers have become bigger and bigger. It is obvious that your subordinates violated the discipline, but you still force them to stand up. You are really powerful. I want to ask, whose rule is this? Is it from the Tiger Guards, or from you, Gao Pengfei?" Gao Pengfei lowered his head and shuddered violently. "Go apologize to Su Chen." Qin Mui shouted coldly, and all her energy burst out. The pressure of the divine realm instantly condensed and pressed on Gao Pengfei. Gao Pengfei was shocked. He hurriedly stepped forward and bowed deeply to Su Chen. "Mr. Su, I was wrong. I apologize to you. Haha. I can't bear it. Su Chen said coldly. Su Chen's impression of the Tiger Guards was really average. Some members were really good. For example, leading Bian, Liu Daling, Zhang Ke, Qi Hetao, and even Qin Qingmei. But there are also many that he is simply annoyed by seeing. For example, Wu Daoning, Wu Xiangqiu, Kong Zuantong, and Feng Linhei, etc. The current Gao Pengfei is the same. Although Pei Zhenshang and leading Bian explained that Gao Pengfei was protecting his shortcomings. But in Su Chen's view, protecting one's shortcomings and being reasonable are not in conflict at all. When both are reasonable, you can protect your shortcomings and favor your own people. But Kong Zuantong used his power to oppress others and do evil, and you still want to protect your shortcomings. That is unreasonable. Su Chen naturally would not give a good face to such a person. Hearing Su Chen's words of no mercy, Gao Pengfei's face was a little ugly, but he could only bear it. On the side, Feng Linhei's face was no longer smiling. This excitement is not fun to watch at all. Mao Ruping was still a little confused. She only knew today that Su Chen was a senior consultant of the Tiger Guard and cured Qin Qingmei. The atmosphere on the scene was a little solemn. Mao Ruping looked around and quickly stepped out to change the subject. She asked Qin Qingmei, "Captain Qin, did you call us back to arrange the next task?" Mao Ruping chose a good topic. Although Qin Qingmei had just finished speaking for Su Chen, but she was still annoyed when she heard this question. She pointed at Su Chen and said unhappily, "Don't ask me, go ask your consultant Su. He asked you to come back. He is sure to catch Jiang Yuan, and you will listen to his arrangements in the future." Su Chen looked at Qin Qingmei. As a result, Qin Qingmei didn't even look at him. Su Chen smiled. This woman, who just spoke for him, now has this expression again. It seems that she really doesn't believe that she can catch Jiang Yuan. Mao Ruping, the leader of the rabbit group, was immediately happy. She looked at Su Chen. "Consultant Su, can you really catch Jiang Yuan? As long as we can catch her, we will do whatever you ask us to do. Don't worry, I will definitely catch her," Su Chen said confidently. "As for you, don't wait there yet. Even if you 4 team leaders are guarding around, it may be difficult to stop Jiang Yuan." Mao Ruping and Pei Zhenshang nodded. She also knew that Jiang Yuan was the most fast-moving key master, and even the strong men in the god realm could not catch up with her. At the beginning, everyone's idea was to just stop her, so that Qin Qingmei or Su Chen could catch her. Now, Su Chen didn't need them to do so at all. "Mr. Su, what should we do?" Pei Zhenshang asked. Su Chen thought for a while and said, "Later, you 4 team leaders, just stay by Yu Langxing's side. In this way, if Jiang Yuan really wants to make a move, you may be able to stop her." Mao Ruping and Pei Zhenshang nodded. Okay. Although Feng Linhei didn't like Su Chen very much, he didn't dare to say anything. Gao Pengfei nodded without saying anything. Su Chen arranged the tasks for the 4 team leaders. As for the other members of the Tiger Guard, Qin Qingmei asked them to disperse. These people don't have any specific tasks. After all, with their strength, it can only be said that it is better than nothing, so just pretend to ambush. Otherwise, Jiang Yuan might not believe it when she sees that there is no ambush. Not long after, Qin Qingmei received a message. She raised her head and said, "Everyone, pay attention, Yu Langxing will be here soon." Everyone was startled. If Yu Langxing arrives, Jiang Yuan will definitely come. After a while, Su Chen's ears moved, and he looked in all directions. He saw 8 identical cars coming from different directions, and their common destination is a helipad where Su Chen and others are. Qin Qingmei said, "This time, I arranged 8 cars to set off at the same time. Among them, only one is carrying Yu Langxing, and the others are for cover. Each car is a special vehicle, which is difficult to destroy from the outside, and you can't see the situation in the car. If Jiang Yuan wants to kill Yu Langxing, she can only come here and wait for Yu Langxing to get out of the car and prepare to board the plane. If she misses this opportunity, she will regret it for the rest of her life." Su Chen nodded. This strategy is relatively effective. Moreover, according to Jiang Yuan's temper, she should come. After all, in her opinion, her speed is unparalleled. Even if there is a god realm, she can kill people and leave calmly. Soon, 8 cars stopped at the same time. In an instant, everyone's nerves were tense. After 2:30, if you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 580. Lure the tiger away from the mountain. The cars all stopped. 8 cars seemed to be specially made. They looked very sturdy. Suddenly, the window of one of them opened, and a head stuck out. It was a bold middle-aged man. It was Yu Lanxing. Yu Lanxing stuck his head out and looked around cautiously at first. It seemed that, as long as there was any disturbance, he would quickly retract his head. Su Chen looked at it and felt funny. This bald man was also a martial arts cultivator, but he was scared like this by Jiang Yuan. Yu Lanxing saw that the surroundings were safe, and then he slowly looked at Qin Qingmui. He shouted, "Captain Qin, are you reliable? I'm staying well in your Qinhui prison. Why do you suddenly let me come out as bait? If you can't do it, I'll be dead." Qin Qingmui said coldly, "Don't ask me about this. Our consultant Su Chen will be responsible for leading the arrest operation today." "What?" Yu Lanxing widened his eyes and looked at Su Chen. He looked sad. "Captain Qin, you can't mess with me. As for Jiang Yuan, you couldn't catch the masters of the divine realm, and now you have to rely on this young man. If you want to kill me, please do it directly. Don't play with me like this." Hearing this, Su Chen almost laughed out loud. Yu Lanxing is also a wonderful person. He smiled and said, "Yu Lanxing, don't worry. As long as I'm by your side, Jiang Yuan can't kill you." Before Su Chen finished speaking, Yu Lanxing immediately retorted, "I don't worry at all. Young man, you don't know how powerful that woman is. Thinking back then, I was almost tortured to death by her." Qin Qingmui was a little impatient and interrupted, "Okay, don't talk about your little things back then. Get ready to get out of the car and be the bait." Yu Lanxing looked miserable. He looked around first, then slowly pushed open the car door and got out. Su Chen glanced at Pei Zhenshang and others next to him. Suddenly, the 4 team leaders rushed forward, one in each direction, and surrounded Yu Lanxing in the middle. Qin Qingmui said, "We will wait here until 3 o'clock. When the time comes, send Yu Lanxing to the plane immediately. I believe that Jiang Yuan will definitely take action before Yu Lanxing boards the plane. Otherwise, she will have no chance." Yu Lanxing looked miserable and asked, "Captain Qin, can I wait on the plane first?" Qin Qingmui said, "No. If you can't see this bait, it won't be enough to stimulate Jiang Yuan." Yu Lanxing turned to look at Pei Zhenshang, Mao Ruping and other 4 team leaders. My safety depends on you." Su Chen smiled. "As long as Jiang Yuan wants to kill you, she will definitely come back." Looking at Su Chen's confident look, Yu Lanxing almost believed it. He turned to look at Gao Pengfei on the side and asked, "Brother, who is this young man? Is he very powerful? Can he really guarantee that I won't be killed?" Gao Pengfei's face rose. He said with a cold face, "His name is Su Chen, and he is a senior consultant of our Tiger Guards. As for whether I can guarantee that you will not be killed, I don't know. It's probably very difficult." After Gao Pengfei finished speaking, Pei Zhenshang and Mao Ruping immediately looked at him. At this time, saying such things to Yu Lanxing, isn't it intentional to cause trouble? Sure enough, Yu Lanxing's face suddenly changed, and he almost cried. "Damn it. Captain Qin, are you really gambling with my life?" Qin Qingmui glared at Gao Pengfei fiercely. Gao Pengfei pretended not to see it. At this time, Su Chen said lightly, "Gao Pengfei, whether I can save Yu Lanxing is my mission. And you, just guard your own direction." Gao Pengfei snorted coldly and said nothing more. Then, Su Chen looked at Yu Lanxing. "Don't worry. I'll catch Jiang Yuan in front of you in a while." Yu Lanxing raised his shiny bald head and grinned darkly. "Brother, are you from a pyramid scheme? How come you brag so much that you believe it?" Hearing this, Su Chen was too lazy to pay attention to her. Just then, "Ha ha ha. There are still people who want to catch me. You really don't know how high the sky is and how deep the earth is." Su Chen suddenly turned his head and looked to the side. Sure enough, a red figure suddenly appeared a few dozen meters away. It was Jiang Yuan. Su Chen raised his eyebrows slightly. This speed is really fast. Qin Qingmei, Pei Zhenchang and others suddenly changed their faces. Especially Yu Langxing. He was so scared that he wanted to run away. However, at this time, hiding in the encirclement of the 4 team leaders is the safest. Jiang Yuan walked towards the crowd as if there was no one. She walked lightly and approached the crowd. She didn't stop until she was about 10 meters away from the crowd. Qin Qingmei said coldly, "Jiang Yuan, you actually dare to come? It's really funny. You, the tiger capture guard, got Yu Langxing out. Didn't you just lure me out?" Jiang Yuan sneered, "I'll give you this chance. Come and kill him." Qin Qingmei's face was unfriendly. "With me here, can you kill him?" Hearing this, Yu Langxing suddenly felt a little more secure. However, Jiang Yuan smiled coldly and said, "Qin Qingmei, although you are a god, it's still a little difficult to catch me. And it's also very simple for me to kill him." Qin Qingmei said lightly, "You can try." However, a smile appeared on Jiang Yuan's face. "Now, I'm going to kill your tiger capture guard members. I believe you shouldn't be here to guard Yu Langxing, right?" As soon as the voice fell, Jiang Yuan stepped on the ground. Whoosh! Countless strong winds blew wildly around Jiang Yuan. She sneered, and then the whole person turned into a red afterimage, rushing towards the disguised tiger capture guard members around her. Ah! Almost instantly, there was a scream from a distance. Qin Qingmei's face changed and she cursed. Damn it. Jiang Yuan was so shameless that she wanted to use the lives of ordinary members of the tiger catching guard to force her to leave Yu Langxing. Keep an eye on Yu Langxing. Qin Qingmei left a message to Su Chen. Then, she burst out with amazing momentum, pounced out, and chased after Jiang Yuan's figure. Yu Langxing was shocked when he saw this scene. "Captain Qin, don't leave. This is a trick to lure the tiger away from the mountain. If you leave, that woman will definitely come to kill me. Damn. This is over." Yu Langxing's face turned pale. Su Chen looked at his timid appearance and was speechless. Could it be that Qin Qingmei didn't know that Jiang Yuan was luring the tiger away from the mountain? She must know. But Jiang Yuan's move was an open conspiracy. If Qin Qingmei didn't chase out, Jiang Yuan would definitely kill the tiger catching guard and force her to leave. As long as Qin Qingmei left, Jiang Yuan would definitely rush over quickly, kill Yu Langxing, and then leave. Even if there were 2 gods, Jiang Yuan was sure that she could kill the 2 gods and make them chase her. If she wasn't there, Jiang Yuan might really succeed. Su Chen looked at the 2 afterimages chasing each other in the battlefield with sharp eyes. One was white and the other was red. The red one was naturally Jiang Yuan. The white one was Qin Qingmei. Although Jiang Yuan was only in the Xianshan realm, she cultivated the wind attribute vitality and also had a special body method. When she was fully activated, there were afterimages all over the ground, and it was difficult to catch her figure. Although Qin Qingmei was a land immortal and her burst speed was also very fast, but she could only follow Jiang Yuan and be led by her. Moreover, Jiang Yuan kept attacking and injured the members of the Tiger Guard. Her purpose was naturally to keep Qin Qingmei here and have no time to protect Yu Langxing. Su Chen could also see that Jiang Yuan didn't use her full speed at all. Sure enough, Jiang Yuan led Qin Qingmei to a distance. Then, she seriously injured 2 tiger guards again, and then suddenly turned and rushed towards Yu Langxing at full speed. Whoosh! She's coming. Yu Langxing's face was full of fear. Pei Zhenchang, Mao Ruping, Feng Linhei and Gao Pengfei were all nervous. The 4 of them were guarding in different directions. Everyone was worried that Jiang Yuan would break through from their direction, because they all knew that they might not be able to stop her. Whoosh! Jiang Yuan's figure, like a red streak, shot from a distance. She had completely shaken off Qin Qingmei. In Jiang Yuan's view, no one would be able to stop her this time. Chapter 581 He pretends again. A red light flashed. In the blink of an eye, Jiang Yuan rushed in front of several people. Yu Langxing, go to hell. Jiang Yuan rushed towards Yu Langxing with a fierce look on her face. However, just when she was about to reach Yu Langxing, Su Chen moved. Boom. A sound of wind and thunder exploded. The wind character technique was activated. Su Chen's figure flashed and rushed towards Jiang Yuan in an instant. Oh. No wonder Qin King Mei dared to leave. It turns out that there is an innate realm waiting for me here. She chuckled. Then, she stepped on the ground and the whole person shot back. But Su Chen did not slow down and chased towards Jiang Yuan. Jiang Yuan retreated quickly and sneered. Boy, your speed is good, but compared to me, it is far from enough. As the voice fell, Jiang Yuan's figure flashed, and her speed burst out again. She seemed to be integrated into the wind. A red light flashed. Jiang Yuan had already spared Su Chen and rushed towards Yu Langxing again. Su Chen was also shocked. He did not expect that Jiang Yuan's speed could be improved so much. This woman actually still had some strength left. Gao Pengfei, Pei Zhenchang and others' faces changed instantly. With the cultivation of the four of them, it was difficult to stop Jiang Yuan. Yu Langxing even shouted, "It's over. I'm going to die." Swish. Jiang Yuan's figure left a trail of after images. In the blink of an eye, she appeared in front of Gao Pengfei. Gao Pengfei's expression tightened. This woman actually chose his direction. He immediately prepared for battle. Get out of the way. Jiang Yuan rushed over at a very fast speed while scolding. Gao Pengfei's face was ugly, but in the end he gritted his teeth and said, "Fuck you. If you want to kill someone, you have to get through me first." Jiang Yuan's face flashed a trace of cruelty. Whoosh. She rushed to Gao Pengfei's side. A palm strike was like a wind blade. Bang. The next second, Gao Pengfei flew high and fell hard in front of Yu Langxing. He hurriedly got up and continued to protect Yu Langxing. Jiang Yuan's eyes turned cold and she slapped again. The edge of her palm condensed violent energy like a sword and slashed directly at Gao Pengfei's throat. Even before being touched, Gao Pengfei felt his neck cold. The next second, it seemed that his neck would be cut off. Seeing Jiang Yuan's palm getting closer and closer, Gao Pengfei's face showed despair. At this moment, a golden light flashed before everyone's eyes. Bang! With a loud bang, Jiang Yuan's figure was thrown out suddenly, as if hit by a train. Gao Pengfei looked shocked and looked at Su Chen, who suddenly appeared in front of him. Just now, at the moment when he was about to be killed by Jiang Yuan, Su Chen descended from the sky and knocked Jiang Yuan away with golden light. Gao Pengfei was stunned. Just now, he had just had a conflict with Su Chen. As a result, now, he was saved by the other party. For a moment, Gao Pengfei suddenly didn't know what to say. Su Chen glanced at him indifferently, then turned to look at Jiang Yuan. Before, he also wanted to compete with Jiang Yuan in speed, so he tried to use the wind character in the Zuaniu and Feng region. Unexpectedly, he not only failed to catch up with Jiang Yuan, but was bypassed by her. If she really succeeded in killing Yu Langxing, Su Chen would be completely overturned. Fortunately, Gao Pengfei was very responsible and tried his best to stop Jiang Yuan for a moment so that Su Chen could catch up with him using the golden light of the earth. At this time, Jiang Yuan was knocked out by Su Chen. She hurriedly maintained her body shape in the air and landed steadily. Then, she looked behind her with a look of horror. Jiang Yuan's eyes were shocked. She realized that the person who had just knocked her away was Su Chen. How could this be possible? This young man had been left behind by her. How could he suddenly catch up with her in such a short time? Puff. Jiang Yuan spit out a mouthful of blood. Su Chen's attack just now caused her internal organs to be seriously injured. However, what made her even more suspicious was Su Chen's speed. Although she didn't know how Su Chen did it, she had to kill Yu Langxing quickly. If she dragged on, Qin King Mei would be back. Asshole. Jiang Yuan cursed. The next second, she turned into a red light again and quickly turned around Yu Langxing and others. For a moment, everyone saw several Jiang Yuan approaching at the same time. Obviously, most of these figures were after images used to confuse people. The next second, several Jiang Yuan attacked from all directions at the same time. Pei Zhenchang and others looked flustered and didn't know how to deal with it. At this time, Su Chen smiled coldly. He pinched the seal with his hands and changed it quickly. The mental power in the Niwen Palace suddenly surged out. Spiritual seal. A mental force field instantly enveloped the surroundings. Whether it was Yu Langxing, Pei Zhenchang and others, or the after images of Jiang Yuan. They were all shrouded in Su Chen's mental force field. This is Su Chen's trump card. As long as Jiang Yuan wants to get close to Yu Langxing, she will definitely not be able to avoid Su Chen's move. Su Chen smiled coldly, shock. The next second, the terrifying mental force field was activated instantly. But Su Chen's mental power surged wildly, attacking everyone in the mental force field indiscriminately. Pei Zhenchang and others suddenly felt a headache and black in front of their eyes. Then, they fell to the ground with blood flowing from their 7 orifices, holding their heads. If Su Chen hadn't deliberately controlled and released more mental attacks on Jiang Yuan, Pei Zhenchang and others would probably be in a worse situation. Su Chen didn't continue to pay attention to Pei Zhenchang and others, but hurriedly looked at Jiang Yuan. Sure enough, Jiang Yuan didn't prepare for Su Chen's move, and her mental power was not strong. So, at this moment, Jiang Yuan fell to the ground, holding her head, and screaming in pain. Golden light. Su Chen didn't hesitate. Golden light flashed under his feet, and he rushed directly to Jiang Yuan. Jiang Yuan struggled to wake up. Seeing Su Chen rushing over, her face changed immediately, and she was about to continue running. However, Su Chen's speed was much faster than she expected. Before she could react, Su Chen had already rushed to her. Bang! Su Chen's palm hit Jiang Yuan. The raging flame energy rushed directly into Jiang Yuan's meridians. Jiang Yuan screamed and fainted. Her meridians and Anshan were instantly destroyed by Su Chen. At this moment, Su Chen was completely relieved. Even if Jiang Yuan woke up, no matter how good her body skills were, she couldn't run anymore, because she was completely useless. Whoosh! A sound of breaking wind sounded. Qin Qingmu's figure appeared next to Su Chen. Seeing the scene, Qin Qingmu's pretty face was full of shock. She looked at the fainted Jiang Yuan, and then at Su Chen. Su Chen, you caught Jiang Yuan? How did you do it? Qin Qingmu asked with ecstasy. Su Chen said calmly, I told you before that, as long as she shows up, I can catch her. Qin Qingmu paused. Damn it. This bastard pretended again. Then, she looked at Yu Langxing, Pei Zhenchang and the other 5 people. They all fell to the ground with painful expressions. What happened to them? Qin Qingmu asked. Su Chen said, I accidentally injured them. But it's not a big problem. As he spoke, he walked to Yu Langxing and the others. These people were all injured by his Zenling seal, and their sea of consciousness was traumatized. However, this is not a very troublesome problem. Last time, Su Chen extorted 2 spiritual medicines from the Bei family. Among them, a Kyanglu fruit had been fed to Tan Yangshan by him. Su Chen happened to have a bodhi lotus left in his hand, which was also a spiritual medicine. The situation of these 5 people was not serious. So, Su Chen just pulled off 5 petals, and stuffed them into their mouths. Hold it in your mouth first, and swallow the petals, when you are clear-headed. Su Chen instructed the others. The 5 people regained some consciousness in a trance and nodded. Su Chen turned around. He saw Qin Qingmu had tied Jiang Yuan's hands and legs. Su Chen smiled. That's not necessary. I have destroyed her Anshan and meridians. Now, she is not even as good as an ordinary person. Qin Qingmu rolled her eyes at Su Chen. You don't know how powerful this woman is. Before, we, the tiger capture guard, sent out 3 gods, but we couldn't catch her. Su Chen pouted. You are making a fuss. I caught her for you. You. Qin Qingmu glared, but she had nothing to say. The 4th update is here. It's so hard to bear. Chapter 582. Who is the mastermind behind this? Qin Qingmu was very angry at Su Chen's indifference. However, she could not find any reason to refute. Just now, she was transferred by Jiang Yuan, and the other party only took a short time to get rid of her and kill her back. However, Su Chen directly disabled Jiang Yuan. Qin Qingmu stared at Su Chen. Her eyes were colorful. This guy really has a lot of cards in his hand. Soon, on the side, several people who were accidentally injured by Su Chen's spiritual seal woke up with the help of bodhi lotus petals. Several people shook their heads and looked at Su Chen. Mao Ruping, the leader of the rabbit group, was the first to see Jiang Yuan on the ground and immediately exclaimed in surprise. Caught. Jiang Yuan was caught. At this time, Pei Zhenchang, Feng Linhei and Gao Pengfei looked over. When they saw Jiang Yuan, they were immediately in disbelief. Great. This woman can't run away at last. The shame of our Dongsao province's Tiger Guard can be washed away. And the 3 team leaders who sacrificed their great hatred has finally been avenged. The faces of the 4 team leaders were all excited. Mao Ruping hurried over and asked Qin Qingmei, Captain Qin, what's going on? Did you catch this woman? Just now, Su Chen activated the spiritual shock seal, and several of them had a headache and lost consciousness. No one saw what happened just now. At this moment, seeing Qin Qingmei coming back, they thought it was this land immortal who showed his power. Qin Qingmei's face flushed. It's not me. Qin Qingmei pointed at Su Chen. It's Consultant Su. Everyone was stunned and very surprised. Only Gao Pengfei was a little calmer. Because Jiang Yuan was walking in the direction where he saw some of the situation. Mao Ruping was very excited. Consultant Su. It's really you. Aren't you amazing? How did you catch Jiang Yuan, who is so fast? Su Chen smiled. On the side, Pei Zhenchang also said excitedly, Mr. Su, I knew you could do it, haha. Feng Linhei looked a little strange. He had a grudge against Su Chen, but Su Chen also caught the biggest enemy of the Tiger Guard, which made him very conflicted. The happiest person was the bald Yu Lanxing. After he woke up, he hurried forward. Looking at the unconscious Jiang Yuan on the ground, Yu Lanxing laughed, haha. Jiang Yuan, you woman have come to this day. It seems that I can live a good life in the future. As he spoke, Yu Lanxing looked at Qin Qingmei. Captain Qin, you see I have been the bait for you to catch this woman. Can you let me go as a meritorious service? After Jiang Yuan was arrested, he never wanted to go to the prison of the Tiger Guard again. Now, he can't wait to come out and enjoy a good life. Qin Qingmei shook her head. You will be in prison for another 3 years for the crime you committed, not a day less. Ah. Yu Lanxing was stunned for a moment. He quickly explained, Captain Qin, I committed the crime on purpose, because I wanted to take refuge in your prison of the Tiger Guard. I didn't kill anyone at all. I surrendered myself voluntarily, and I also helped you arrest Jiang Yuan. Please let me go. Qin Qingmei sneered, when you need us, you commit crimes and hide in here. When you don't need us, you want to go out. What do you think of us here? A hotel? Humph. In view of your meritorious service, I will exempt you from 1 year. Stay for another 2 years and you will be out of prison. Yu Lanxing's big bald head was full of misery. Qin Qingmei waved her hand. Immediately, the Tiger Guard came forward and took Yu Lanxing back to the car, preparing to send him back to the prison of the Tiger Guard. Su Chen was speechless. Although Yu Lanxing was a little funny, he could only say that he deserved it. Even if he committed a crime intentionally and did not cause any serious consequences, the Tiger Guards would not allow him to take advantage of the rules. At the scene, only Qin Qingmei, Su Chen, and 4 team leaders were left. Of course, there was also Jiang Yuan who was unconscious on the ground. At this time, Gao Pengfei secretly looked at Su Chen with a trace of struggle on his face. He gritted his teeth and walked forward. Then, he bowed deeply to Su Chen. Mr. Su, thank you. You saved my life. After Gao Pengfei finished speaking, he did not stand up again. Just now, if Su Chen had not arrived suddenly, he would have been killed by Jiang Yuan. He should thank Su Chen for both reason and emotion. Su Chen looked Gao Pengfei up and down and saw that he was sincere. Finally, Su Chen said lightly, get up. Gao Pengfei's face lit up. Since Su Chen took care of him, it meant that he would no longer care about the previous things. Thank you, Mr. Su. Thank you. Su Chen nodded. Although Gao Pengfei has many small flaws in his personality, he is still very responsible. At least, when facing Jiang Yuan just now, even though he was almost beaten to death, he still did not retreat. This point also made Su Chen change his opinion of him a lot. Qin Qingmei and Pei Zhenchang saw that the relationship between the two had eased, and they also smiled. Su Chen looked at Qin Qingmei. Captain Qin, I want to wake this woman up and ask a few questions. Qin Qingmei nodded. Then, Su Chen stepped forward, raised his hand and shot out a stream of energy. Cough cough. Jiang Yuan coughed violently and then woke up. When she saw the situation around her, she was stunned for a moment, and a trace of unwillingness appeared on her face. She turned her head and stared at Su Chen. Qin King Mui said coldly, "Jiang Yuan, you didn't expect it? In the end, you will still fall into the hands of our tiger catching guards." Qin King Mui was very happy. However, Jiang Yuan looked at her coldly. "Qin King Mui, why are you so arrogant? Even if I, Jiang Yuan, was caught, what does this have to do with you? You, the immortal on earth, just let me get rid of you in one go." Qin King Mui was so angry when she heard this. Su Chen, who was on the side, almost laughed out loud when he heard this. Qin King Mui turned around and glared at Su Chen fiercely. Su Chen quickly put away his smile. At this time, Jiang Yuan stared at Su Chen and asked, "Who are you? What kind of skill did you use to catch up with me just now?" Su Chen said lightly, "My name is Su Chen." Jiang Yuan was stunned. "Su Chen from Bincheng? Impossible. Although you killed the old man Jin Guang, he was just an old turtle. You can't catch up with me. What kind of skill did you use?" Jiang Yuan was indeed most proud of her speed. When she was surpassed by Su Chen's speed, she had to find out clearly. Su Chen said softly, "Golden light on the ground." Jiang Yuan's face was immediately shocked. The legendary, one of the Zuanmans in 836 great magical powers? No wonder I lost. Jiang Yuan looked dazed. At the side, Qin King Mui also looked at Su Chen in surprise. She also thought of something. That day, when Su Chen attacked the Bei family, he said that he could escape unscathed. It turned out that he had this magical skill. Qin King Mui looked at Su Chen and kept thinking in her heart, "This bastard, he knows too much." And Su Chen looked at Jiang Yuan. "Tell me, who are you? Who asked you to deal with Yao Shan?" Chapter 583 The Secret of the Zhou Family. Su Chen asked the question he wanted to know most. Who on earth wanted to deal with Yao Shan? This was also the main reason why Su Chen participated in the arrest of Jiang Yuan. However, facing this question, Jiang Yuan laughed sarcastically. "Do you want to know? I won't tell you." Haha. Su Chen was stunned. On the side, Qin King Mui scolded, "Jiang Yuan, don't make yourself unhappy." Jiang Yuan showed contempt. "Qin King Mui, don't scare me, it's useless. I know that what I have done is enough to kill me several times. I killed several team leaders of your Qin Hui, and I will definitely not survive. Besides, I can't kill you Langsing, the bastard, and there is no point in living. So, why should I tell you?" Haha. Hearing Jiang Yuan's words, everyone was stunned. This woman saw it very clearly. Qin King Mui was very angry. Jiang Yuan continued, "Su Chen, I can do business with you." "What business?" Su Chen asked. Jiang Yuan said, "I can tell you who is behind me, but you must promise me that you will find a chance to kill you Langsing in the future. As long as you promise me, I will tell you immediately." As soon as the voice fell, everyone's eyes turned to Su Chen's face. At this time, Su Chen said coldly, "Jiang Yuan, I don't agree to your condition. I have no hatred with you Langsing, and I have no obligation to avenge you. Then you will continue to be kept in the dark." Jiang Yuan said with a glare. Su Chen smiled, "Don't worry. You will tell me." Everyone was stunned. The next second, Su Chen's mental power suddenly burst out from the Nuwan Palace. In an instant, it shattered Jiang Yuan's sea of consciousness. Jiang Yuan didn't attach importance to mental power cultivation, and all her cultivation was abolished by Su Chen. In a sense, she is now an ordinary middle-aged woman. In fact, she is weaker than an ordinary middle-aged woman. To deal with such a person, Su Chen did not need to use talisman paper. He could completely rely on the vast mental power to influence her judgment. Sure enough, in an instant, Jiang Yuan's eyes became dull. She was in a trance, and only felt that Su Chen was the person closest to her. Su Chen asked, "Jiang Yuan, which faction are you from now?" Jiang Yuan's eyes were confused, and she said, "Dan Group." In an instant, Qin King Mui and Pei Zhenchang and others were all stunned. Su Chen actually asked it, and Su Chen was also stunned. He did not expect that it was Dan Group. Before, he had also seen Jin Qianqing and Jin Danglei, but he had not heard that they had any major competition with the Yao family. Dan Group, why did they attack Yao Shan? Su Chen asked. Jiang Yuan said, Yao Shan now controls the Yao family, and he wants to give the food center project of Quinning Entertainment City to the Bincheng Zhao family. Su Chen was a little surprised. Bincheng Zhao family? Why is this related to the Zhao family? Su Chen asked again, why can't the food center project of Quinning Entertainment City be given to the Zhao family? Jiang Yuan's eyes were still dull. I don't know either. I just heard that they have to keep an eye on the Zhao family. Su Chen's face turned cold. It seems that Dong Group doesn't want to let the Zhao family of Bincheng enter the provincial capital. But why is this? The Zhao family of Bincheng doesn't seem to have any direct conflict of interest with the Dong Group. Moreover, the two families are not at the same level at all. Suddenly, Su Chen thought of something. Before, when he caught Mr. Long Heian in Yicheng, he mentioned a secret about the Zhao family. The Zhao family has a big secret, and many people are watching. Su Chen thought at the time that the secret of the Zhao family was a huge benefit that his grandfather mentioned to him. Now it seems that this is not the case, but someone is targeting it. This Jiang Yuan is just a thug and doesn't know much. Su Chen thought of Jin Donglei. This guy was blackmailed by Su Chen for 4 billion in Changjianju, and he has already transferred it. Su Chen can't use this excuse to find him again. At this time, Jiang Yuan suddenly woke up. She looked panicked. Ah, what did you do to me? Su Chen looked at Jiang Yuan, a little surprised that she woke up. As expected, she was in the innate divine realm, and her cultivation involved the cultivation of mental power. Although she had been abolished, her mental power was much stronger than that of ordinary people. Therefore, she was able to break free from Su Chen's control so quickly. Su Chen also had an idea in his mind. Such a strong person still needs to be coordinated with talisman paper, perhaps to control it more firmly. Su Chen ignored Jiang Yuan. He said to Qin Qingmei, Captain Qin, this woman is no longer useful to me. You can take her away. Okay. Qin Qingmei looked excited. Then, she waved her hand, and several tiger-catching guards hurriedly stepped forward, controlled Jiang Yuan, and put her in the car. Control her well. Don't let her commit suicide. Qin Qingmei hurriedly instructed. She didn't want Jiang Yuan to die so soon. Soon, Jiang Yuan was taken away. Qin Qingmei looked at Su Chen and said with emotion, Su Chen, today is all thanks to you. I didn't expect that you actually did it. By catching Jiang Yuan, you have made a great contribution to our Dongzhou province Tiger Guard. Su Chen smiled. I don't know who it is. I was so furious at first. You. Qin Qingmei's pretty face suddenly blushed. However, she quickly adjusted herself. I have reasonable suspicion, but you still gave me a surprise. What does this mean? This means that I have a good vision and I hired you as a consultant for our Tiger Guards. Su Chen smiled. You are bragging about yourself. That's why I have a good vision. I can judge people well. Qin Qingmei smiled. But I didn't expect that you have so many tricks up your sleeve. Not only are you good at medicine, but you are also amazing in martial arts. You also know Zhuan Taoism, and you focus on practicing mental strength and physical body. I can't figure out what you can't do. Su Chen looked at Qin Qingmei suspiciously. I'm not used to you praising me all of a sudden. You don't want to ask me for anything, do you? Get lost. Qin Qingmei said unhappily. It was not easy for her to praise this guy once. In the end, she got bitten by a dog. Su Chen continued. I have something to trouble Captain Qin for. Qin Qingmei raised her pretty face and said rather proudly, tell me. As long as I can do it, I will definitely help you. After catching Jiang Yuan, she was in a very good mood. Su Chen said, help me investigate the Dong Group and see if there are any people or forces behind them. Okay. Qin Qingmei nodded. Su Chen said, if everything is fine here, I will leave first. Contact me if there is anything. Jiang Yuan has been caught. Su Chen can also finish his work. Qin Qingmei smiled and asked, do you need me to take you there? Su Chen smiled. No. Captain Qin, you should take charge of the situation here. Qin Qingmei snorted and was too lazy to care about Su Chen. Su Chen walked out of the flight center and was about to go back to Jiutang Shengfu directly. Suddenly, he thought of something. There was one thing he forgot to tell you Fu. When he returned to Fuelin Hotel from Wumeng, Yufei and Zhu Zenai were both concerned about what happened to Su Chen in Wumeng. However, they forgot to ask another important thing. After thinking for a while, Su Chen took a taxi and returned to Fuelin Hotel. Next chapter, after 2:30, everyone goes to bed first. Chapter 584. I want to subdue Su Chen. Fuelin Hotel. Yufei and Zhu Zenai were surprised to see Su Chen coming back. Su Chen, why are you here? Just after dinner, didn't you go out for something urgent? Zhu Zenai was surprised. Su Chen smiled and explained, I'm done. I came here this time because I remembered that I forgot to tell you something. Yufei asked, what is it? Su Chen explained, did Mr. Yu forget that someone had asked the Wumeng not to rent masters to Miss Yu before? Yufei and his sister suddenly realized. Yes. Yufei slapped his thigh. After Mr. Su helped my sister find the two masters Jiang Jian and Jiang Dao, I was so happy that I forgot about it. Zhu Zenai also hurriedly asked, Su Chen, tell me, which bastard is targeting us? Ning lied. Su Chen said these three words lightly. Yufei was stunned. Then, he said in a hateful voice, I didn't expect it to be this bastard. Su Chen asked angrily, Mr. Yu, who is this Ning lied? Yufei said in a deep voice, he is the president of the previous session of the Provincial Chamber of Commerce, and now he seems to be the vice president of the Chemical Industry Association. Ning lied is involved in many industries, but the most important one is still in the chemical industry. Su Chen nodded. This is right. Before this, Ning lied had also attacked Gao Zepeng in Yicheng. He even sent Qiu Hang to set fire. Su Chen confirmed his identity after paying Qiu Hang. After Gao Zepeng heard the name Ning lied, he also told Su Chen that this person was the vice president of the Dongzhou Provincial Chemical Industry Association. But I didn't expect that he was the president of the Provincial Chamber of Commerce before. Su Chen thought about it and smiled. In this case, his predecessor should be dissatisfied with you who took his position. In the future, you and Miss Zenai should be more careful. Humph. Yufei snorted coldly. This Ning lied. I don't get along with him. But I didn't expect that he was plotting against me. But now that I know it's him, I will definitely make him not dare to act rashly. Seeing Yufei's confident look, Su Chen felt relieved. Although Yufei is not too old, he has been in the business world for many years. Since he knows who the enemy is, he must have a way to deal with it. After making this matter clear, Su Chen prepared to leave. Finally, the Yu brothers and sisters sent Su Chen downstairs to the hotel. Su Chen was about to return to Jiu Tangsheng mansion. Ding-ling-ling. Suddenly, his cell phone rang. After answering the call, it was Tan Yangshan calling. Hello, Mr. Su? I have something. Can you help me? Su Chen said. What is it? Tan Yangshan's voice was quite hesitant. I told you before that Jinglin Villa is very harsh on us worshippers. Once you become their people, it is basically difficult to quit. Su Chen nodded. Tan Yangshan did say this. Moreover, when Tan Yangshan withdrew himself, the blood in his body was also detonated by the people of Jinglin Villa. After Su Chen's treatment, he was able to escape the opponent's blood-killing technique. Tan Yangshan continued, I have a sworn brother named Chen Shuxing, who is also a master of vitality. He once tried to leave Jinglin Villa, but was forcibly kept by them. Can you save him? He said that, if he could leave Jinglin Villa, he would be willing to work for you. Tan Yangshan was a little embarrassed. After all, Jinglin Villa is a very powerful force. If Su Chen is willing to help, he will go against Jinglin Villa. Su Chen thought about it. Okay, I'll ask about this for you. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Su. Tan Yangshan was very excited. The two chatted for a few more words and hung up the phone. Su Chen took out his mobile phone and found Pang Qiuan's number. This Pang Qiuan is a senior executive of Jinglin Villa and may have some decision-making power. Dial the phone. Pang Qiuan answered quickly. He said in a weak voice, Mr. Su, I have already transferred the 10 billion to you. What do you want to see me for? Su Chen smiled. It seems that Pang Qiuan is quite afraid of him. In this way, it is estimated that things will be easier to discuss. Su Chen immediately said, I came to you, not because of the 10 billion, but because I have something to ask you. Pang Qiuan was slightly startled and hurriedly said, what is it? Tell me. Su Chen said lightly. You have a Yuan-Qi master named Chen Shuxing in Jinglin Villa, right? Yes. Pang Yuan admitted. Su Chen said, I want to ask, why can't he withdraw from Jinglin Villa? Pang Yuan's heart tightened, and he said, Mr. Su, is Chen Shuxing your friend? Yes. Su Chen said casually. Pang Yuan suddenly felt a little annoyed. It seems that Jinglin Villa is going to be in trouble again. Pang Yuan thought about the wording and said, Mr. Su, you have to understand that each force has its own rules. It's impossible for you to come and go as you please. Besides, Chen Shuxing is a general under our Southern Venerable. If he wants to withdraw, our Southern Venerable must nod his head. Su Chen was slightly stunned. Southern Venerable? It seems that there should be Eastern Venerable, Western Venerable and Northern Venerable. Pang Yuan discussed. Mr. Su, how about this? I will help you contact our Southern Venerable and see what he says. Su Chen nodded. The two hung up the phone. Su Chen pondered for a moment. This Jinglin Villa may not be a simple force. Chen Shuxing, the innate master, can only be under the command of this so-called Southern Venerable. It seems that the Southern Venerable is most likely at the peak of the innate realm. In this case, the owner of Jinglin Villa is very likely to be a land immortal, another superpower. However, Su Chen is not afraid. It's just a land immortal, and it's not like he hasn't fought before. On the other side, Pang Yuan looked painful. He knew that these days, Venerable Nan was worried about Chen Shuxing. However, Pang Yuan finally dialed the phone. Soon, a feminine voice came from the other side. What's the matter? Pang Yuan hurriedly said, Venerable Nan, Su Chen wants Chen Shuxing to leave Jinglin Villa. What? The voice on the other side rose 8 degrees. Venerable Nan continued in a cold voice. Does Su Chen think he is invincible after killing Zhou Wanqiu and Wu Kuangsha? I haven't settled the previous accounts with him yet, and he dares to interfere in the affairs of my Jinglin Villa. Humph. Pang Yuan said, Venerable Nan, you must not be careless. This Su Chen is very strong, and it is hard to figure it out. Even the two masters Zhou Wanqiu and Wu Kuangsha died tragically in his hands. There was a silence on the side of Venerable Nan. Even he had to admit that Zhou Wanqiu and Wu Kuangsha were both top masters. Reverend Nan suddenly said, Tell me, what do you think, if I can subdue this Su Chen? Pang Yuan was startled. That would be great. Su Chen's fighting ability is probably the strongest in the Xianshan realm. And he is still young, and there is a great chance that he will be promoted to the divine realm in the future. Hearing this, Reverend Nan also became excited. That's right. If so, I may be the strongest one in Jinglin Villa in the future. We must take him down before this kid breaks through the divine realm. Pang Yuan asked, Reverend Nan, Su Chen is arrogant and proud. I'm afraid he won't be of any use to you. Haha. Reverend Nan sneered. This matter is not up to him. Pang Yuan asked, what good idea do you have? Reverend Nan said lightly, please help me make an appointment with this Su Chen, and tell him that I agree to talk to him about Chen Shuxing. And the location is in your Shanshu garden, Guanghan Palace box. Guanghan Palace box? Hearing this location, Pang Yuan's face showed shock. If I stay up late, my mind becomes unclear, and I get stuck in writing. But if I get stuck, I have to make up for the sleep during the day, and stay up late again. It's a vicious cycle. I'll finish 3 chapters today, and try to finish 1 chapter during the day tomorrow. I can't stay up any longer. My immunity will be reduced. Everyone, please take care of your health. Chapter 585 Landscape Garden. Landscape Garden, Guanghan Palace box. In an instant, Pang Yuan understood that the Southern Venerable had already made up his mind to kill. It seemed that if Su Chen did not agree, there would be no good end. Okay, Southern Venerable, I will contact Su Chen. Pang Yuan agreed. A flash of joy flashed through his heart. If the Southern Venerable could really kill Su Chen, perhaps the money he had on Su Chen could be returned. Pang Yuan thought secretly. On the other side, Su Chen went to Sun Zhaoxian's villa. Tan Yangshan and others saw Su Chen coming, and immediately stepped forward to greet him. Mr. Su, you are here. Everyone smiled. Su Chen nodded. Tan Yangshan said a little embarrassedly, Mr. Su, I'm sorry to trouble you. Su Chen smiled. It's nothing. Although he and Tan Yangshan were acquainted with each other after fighting, but Tan Yangshan was a good person, and Su Chen regarded him as a friend. In his opinion, it was right to help a friend. If it was someone who had no connection, Su Chen would definitely not be interested in helping. Another point was that Su Chen did not have a good impression of Jinglin Villa. Tan Yangshan continued to ask, Mr. Su, how is the follow-up of this matter? Su Chen said, I have contacted Pan Qian, and he will help me contact the senior management of Jinglin Villa. We'll see what happens later. Yeah. Tan Yangshan nodded. My sworn brother Chen Shuxing, his immediate superior should be Southern Venerable Qian Pinghei. This old shady guy probably won't let people go so easily. Su Chen raised his eyebrows and asked curiously, Southern Venerable? Is the management of Jinglin Villa called Venerable? Tan Yangshan explained, because I have not been involved in the core of Jinglin Villa, I don't know the details. I just heard that under the owner of the villa, 4 great venerables were set up, named East, West, South, and North. Among them, the Southern Venerable is named Qian Pinghei, an old shady guy. He is very insidious. Mr. Su, you should be careful. Su Chen nodded. At this time, ding ling ling. Su Chen's cell phone rang. He answered it. Pan Qian's voice rang. Mr. Su, I have asked Ananzan for you. What did Qian Pinghei say? Su Chen asked calmly. Pan Qian was stunned. He was a little surprised that Su Chen knew Nanzan's name. Mr. Su, Qian Zun said that he can have a meal with you to discuss this matter. The location is scheduled in Shanshu Garden, Guanghan Palace. I don't know. Do you have any opinions? Su Chen nodded. Okay, tell him, I agree. The two chatted for a few more sentences before hanging up the phone. Su Chen put away his phone, looked at Tan Yangshan and said, it has been confirmed that I will meet Qian Pinghei, Shanshu Garden, Guanghan Palace. At this point, Su Chen asked, do you know where Shanshu Garden is? Sun Zhaoxian said, I know. Shanshu Garden is a manor, a comprehensive entertainment villa with food as the main focus. There are mountains and water inside. You can play, you can have parties, and you can taste food. Su Chen nodded. He roughly understood that it should be a place similar to Weicheng Bishu Villa. Tan Yangshan said, this Shanshu Garden seems to be the property of Jinglin Villa. Then Qian Pinghei asked you to meet there. I wonder if he will do anything. On the side, Sun Zhaoxian's wife Zhu Qinglian also persuaded, Mr. Su, why don't you tell that Nanzunzan that it might be safer to change the place to eat this meal? Su Chen smiled. Don't worry. I will be careful. Seeing Su Chen's confident look, everyone had to give up persuading him. Su Chen chatted for a while at Sun Zhaoxian's house. Seeing that the time was almost up, he got up and left. Tan Yangshan wanted to go with Su Chen, but Su Chen refused. Don't worry. Just wait for my news here. Tan Yangshan no longer insisted. After all, he also knew that if Su Chen encountered any unsolvable problems, he would definitely not be able to solve them next to him. Su Chen left quickly and took a taxi to Shanshu Garden. This is a large manor. There is a huge lake in front and a mountain park behind, so it is called Shanshu Garden. Although it is not in the city center, it can be seen that this Shanshu Garden is worth a lot of money. And this Shanshu Garden, like Wanqiu Tower, is part of the Jinglin Villa industry. From this, you can imagine how powerful Jinglin Villa is. Su Chen stepped into Shanshu Garden. There were exquisite scenery everywhere, as well as small bridges, flowing water, carved beams and painted buildings, which was very nice. On the surrounding roads, there were diners and tourists coming to eat from time to time. Su Chen was about to walk towards the main building with catering, when suddenly a burst of laughter from young people came. Then, there was a surprised voice. Su Chen. Su Chen was startled when he heard the call, and then he saw a familiar figure running over quickly. It was Yuzinayu. Yuzinayu ran over, her pretty face slightly red, and she was a little out of breath. Su Chen, why are you in Shanshu Garden? Su Chen was very surprised. I have something to do, and I have an appointment with someone to have a meal here. Why are you here? What a coincidence. Yuzinayu was surprised. I'm also here to have a meal with my classmates. As she spoke, Yuzinayu pointed behind her. Su Chen looked over and saw a group of young men and women stretching their heads to look over here. It seems that those people are Yuzinayu's classmates. Yuzinayu explained. my class monitor in college, happened to work in Shanshu Garden. Recently, he was promoted to deputy general manager, so he invited us to have a gathering with him. At this point, Yuzanayu approached Su Chen and whispered, I guess he wants to show off his promotion and salary increase. Su Chen smiled. No wonder people on the internet say that those who like to hold class reunions are promoted and rich. Su Chen said, aren't you afraid of something happening when you come out? Yuzanayu smiled and said, don't you have the expert bodyguards you found for me? The two experts Jiang Dao and Jiang Jian are in this landscape garden. If I need anything, they can come over with just one phone call. Speaking of this, I have to thank you. Su Chen was stunned. Thank me? Yuzanayu nodded. Yes. My class reunion has actually been postponed several times. Because my brother is worried about my safety, I can't come out to attend. As a result, if I don't attend, my classmates have to wait until I can attend before they get together. I feel embarrassed. Su Chen smiled and said, it seems that you are very popular. Of course. Yuzanayu raised her pretty face and said proudly, of course a beautiful woman is popular. Do you think that others are like you and don't take me, a beautiful woman, seriously? Yuzanayu's tone was quite complaining. Su Chen smiled bitterly. At this moment, a man in a suit and leather shoes walked over from the crowd of Yuzanayu's classmates. Zinayu, who is he? He stared at Su Chen with a somewhat unfriendly look. Chapter 586. Take a ride. Su Chen looked up at the young man in a suit. He was tall and slender, with a handsome appearance and a gentle manner. However, his eyes were looking at him unkindly. Squad leader, why are you here? This is my friend Su Chen. I'll go back. After talking to him for a few words, Yuzanayu said. Looking at Su Chen, Yuzanayu introduced him again. Su Chen, this is Feng Yuanji, my class leader in college. Now he is the deputy general manager of Shanshuan. Feng Yuanji immediately held his head high when he heard Yuzanayu introduce him. He looked high-spirited and looked forward to seeing Su Chen's envious look. After all, at his age, such an achievement is already among the best among his classmates. However, Su Chen just nodded slightly. He already understood that the young man in front of him was the class leader who was promoted and made a fortune and the one who organized the class reunion. At this time, Yuzanayu suddenly said, Su Chen, why don't you come and play with us? Anyway, we are all young people. She looked expectant. Seeing this, Feng Yuanji's face changed. He said quickly, Zinayu, we are a class reunion, so let's not invite outsiders. Otherwise, the classmates will not be able to relax. Yuzanayu's face rose. She realized that this request was indeed a bit unreasonable. However, deep down, she still wanted to have dinner with Su Chen. Feng Yuanji also saw Yuzanayu's intention, and his face became even uglier. Su Chen smiled and said, I have other things to do, you can just eat yours. Okay. Yuzanayu looked disappointed. Su Chen looked at Yuzanayu's pouting face, thought about it and said, how about I wait until I'm done and take your car when I leave? Yuzanayu smiled immediately. Okay. Then when you're done, remember to call me. Su Chen nodded. No problem. Seeing this scene, Feng Yuanji felt even more like a light bulb. He finally called Yuzanayu out for today's class reunion. Originally, he wanted something wonderful to happen. As a result, Yuzanayu has already made an appointment with Su Chen to go together, which makes him very frustrated and jealous. At this time, Feng Yuanji couldn't help but suddenly asked, Mr. Su, I'm the deputy general manager of this Shanshu villa. Since you come to our Shanshu villa for dinner, if you need any help, just tell me. Here, basically everything I say counts. No matter whether you are playing in Shanshu villa or eating here, I can give you a 20% discount. Su Chen smiled and looked at Feng Yuanji. Is this showing off his status to him? Okay, thank you. But no need. Su Chen said lightly. Feng Yuanji looked at Su Chen's appearance and felt like he punched into cotton. Then, he asked, I don't know what you do, Mr. Su. Su Chen smiled. I'm a doctor. Feng Yuanji smiled and said, which university did you study? Su Chen said lightly, I have never been to university. I learned it from my grandfather. Hearing this, Feng Yuanji's eyes lit up immediately. Ah. He pretended to be surprised and shouted, if so, then you are not a barefoot doctor from the countryside? It's probably difficult to make a living in the city with this kind of profession. Su Chen saw through Feng Yuanji's thoughts at a glance. He was too lazy to point it out. It's okay. Anyway, I can survive. On the side, Yuzunai was very angry. She could naturally see Feng Yuanji's little thoughts. Yuzunai immediately said coldly, "Squad leader, I want to chat with Su Chen for a few words. Can you go back first?" Seeing this, Feng Yuanji hurriedly explained, "Zinayu, I'm afraid you'll be cheated. After all, it's rumored on the internet now that many farmers who work pretend to be rich second generations, soldiers, etc. to cheat money and sex." Yuzunai's face became darker and darker. She looked at Feng Yuanji coldly. "I know whether I have been cheated or not. Also, please don't call me Zinayu, just call me by my name, okay?" Before, she was very annoyed by Feng Yuanji calling her like this. But since they were all classmates, she was embarrassed to say anything. However, Feng Yuanji kept saying Zinayu in front of Su Chen, which made her feel resistant. Feng Yuanji's face suddenly turned ugly. He didn't expect that Yuzunai and Su Chen had such a good relationship. Yuzunai would even turn against him for Su Chen. Thinking of this, Feng Yuanji regretted that he was a little impatient just now. Not only did he fail to lower the impression of Su Chen in Yuzunai's heart, but he also made Yuzunai lively. Thinking of this, Feng Yuanji quickly changed his strategy. "Brother Su Chen, I'm sorry. I didn't target you just now. The main reason is that I saw a lot of such things on the internet, and I was worried, so I spoke without restraint. Sorry." Feng Yuanji apologized, but his eyes kept drifting to Yuzunai. Obviously, this was another performance for Yuzunai. Seeing that Yuzunai's expression eased a little, Feng Yuanji's expression relaxed. Sure enough, showing goodwill to Su Chen was still useful. He struck while the iron was hot and said, "Brother Su Chen, which private room are you eating in? I'll have the waiter bring you 2 dishes later." Su Chen smiled and said, "I made an appointment with someone at Guanghan Palace. As for the delivery of the dishes, don't bother, others should have arranged it." Pang Qiuan was the person who managed Chanshu Manor, and he had arranged these things long ago. However, when Feng Yuanji heard Su Chen's words, he was suddenly stunned. "What did you say? Which private room are you eating in?" Feng Yuanji raised his voice. Su Chen looked puzzled. "Guanghan Palace." Feng Yuanji's face changed, and he kept looking Su Chen up and down, with a hint of hidden joy in his expression. On the side, Yuzunai also noticed something was wrong. She asked, "Feng Yuanji, is there anything special about this Guanghan Palace?" Feng Yuanji didn't want to tell Su Chen, but Yuzunai asked, so he had to take the opportunity to tell it. He looked at Su Chen and asked, "Who are you having dinner with in Guanghan Palace? Do you have a grudge?" Su Chen nodded, "Yes. Pang Qiuan arranged the meeting with Kai and Ping He. I do have some grudges against them." Feng Yuanji curled his lips and said, "That's right. I tell you, the Guanghan Palace box can only be used internally. But as long as Mr. Pang arranges the Guanghan Palace box, it basically means that he has murderous intentions towards the host. I have been in Chanshu Manor since I graduated from college, and I have hardly seen anyone walk out of it alive in these years." Hearing this, Yuzunai was shocked. "Su Chen, why don't you take Jiang Dao?" Before she finished speaking, Su Chen waved his hand. "Don't worry. I have already prepared for this." Feng Yuanji said coldly, "Su Chen, I advise you to run away now, and never show up in Dongzhou province again in the future, otherwise you will definitely die." Feng Yuanji really advised Su Chen with these words. After all, if Su Chen really left, he would not appear in front of Yuzunai. Yuzunai also advised, "Su Chen, although I don't know what you are going to discuss with others there, I think you should not go." Su Chen smiled and said, "Don't worry. Since I said that I will take your ride later and come to see you, just focus on the class reunion and wait for my call." After saying that, Su Chen said goodbye to the two of them and turned directly to Guanghan Palace. Yuzunai looked worried. However, she could only return to the group of classmates with Feng Jian and wait anxiously. The next chapter, before 12:30. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. we cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 587 Kanping He. Su Chen left. Feng Yuanji was in a complicated mood. He could see that Yu Zhenyu seemed to have some special feelings for Su Chen. This made Feng Jiyuan very uncomfortable. But Su Chen might die soon, which made him very happy. Feng Yuanji took the somewhat distraught Yu Zhenyu back to the group of classmates. A group of classmates asked curiously, "Zhenyu, who was that handsome guy just now? Is he your boyfriend? Is our school beauty in love? Is that handsome guy just now? Why didn't Zhenyu pull him over so that we could get to know each other?" Everyone joked. Hearing these words, Feng Yuanji's face suddenly darkened. He quickly said, "Don't talk nonsense, that's not Zhenyu's boyfriend." Yu Zhenyu was also a little listless, because she was worried about Su Chen. She forced a smile and said, "Don't guess, he's definitely not my boyfriend." At this time, a girl laughed and said, "It shouldn't be my boyfriend, right? Zhenyu, I saw it with my own eyes just now. When you saw that man, your face was so excited. I guess, even if he's not your boyfriend, he should be the Prince Charming you have a crush on." Hearing this, Yu Zhenyu's pretty face turned red, and she didn't deny it. Suddenly, all the classmates started to make a fuss. Feng Yuanji's face suddenly became even uglier. Originally, he organized this class reunion just to show his success in his career to his classmates. He thought that with these achievements, he could gain face in front of Yu Zhenyu. Then, he would take the opportunity to let his classmates make a fuss, make it real, and win Yu Zhenyu. As a result, now, the classmates are indeed making a fuss for Yu Zhenyu, but the male protagonist is not him. Feng Yuanji is very upset. At this time, he suddenly said to all the classmates with a dark face, "Don't talk nonsense. That man has nothing to do with Zhenyu. He is almost dead." Hearing this, everyone was stunned and asked what was going on. Feng Yuanji gave a simple explanation. Everyone was stunned and didn't know what to say. Feng Yuanji showed a smug look on his face. "The banquets held in the Guanghan Palace are all hangman banquets. I have been in Shanshu Manor for all these years, and I have never seen anyone come out alive. That Su Chen is not only a troublemaker, but also very arrogant. I kindly advised him to run away quickly, but he didn't run, so he must not survive." All the classmates nodded. At this time, Yu Zhenyu said coldly, "Feng Yuanji, shut up." Feng Yuanji was a little embarrassed to be called by Yu Zhenyu's name. "I'm just explaining the situation to everyone," Feng Yuanji said. The classmates hurriedly persuaded Yu Zhenyu. In the end, Yu Zhenyu suppressed her anger. On the other side, Pang Qiuan soon came to meet Su Chen. "Mr. Su, you are here." Pang Qiuan was very respectful. As long as Su Chen was not dead, he still dared not be disrespectful to Su Chen. The lesson from last time was enough for him to remember for a lifetime. "Where is Kanping He?" Su Chen asked. Pang Qiuan said respectfully, "I will take you to the box to wait first. Our Kian-zun will be here soon." Guanghan Palace box? Su Chen raised his eyebrows. "Can I change the box? I don't like this name. I think it is a bit feminine." Pang Qiuan's face changed when he heard this. Cold sweat also came down instantly. "Haha." Su Chen suddenly laughed. He patted Pang Qiuan's shoulder. "I'm just kidding you. I don't care about any box." Pang Qiuan felt relieved. He was really panicked just now and didn't know what reason to use to continue to let Su Chen use Guanghan Palace. Pang Qiuan pulled the corner of his mouth and laughed dryly. Well, as long as Mr. Su wants to change, it can be changed. We booked Guanghan Palace for you, mainly because it is our best box. It is on the top floor of the entire Siphon building, with the best view. You can overlook the entire landscape garden and enjoy the moon. Besides, it is usually not available. Anand's specially reserved it for you." Su Chen looked at Pang Qiuan and talked nonsense with a smile. Pang Qiuan was panicking, but he had to pretend to be calm. Su Chen smiled lightly. "In this case, I can't change the box randomly. Mr. Pang, lead the way." Hearing this, Pang Qiuan was completely relieved. Su Chen followed behind with a sneer on his lips. He wanted to see what was so great about the so-called Guangheng Palace. Soon, Pang Qiuan led Su Chen to the dining center in the landscape garden Siphon building. This is a restaurant with a rather ancient style, but after walking in, it is a perfect fusion of ancient and modern styles. Pang Qiuan took Su Chen to the top floor. A huge private room appeared in front of Su Chen, which was the Guangheng Palace. "Mr. Su, please go in and wait. Venerable Khan will be here soon." Pang Qiuan looked respectful. Su Chen's spiritual power instantly swept across the entire private room. Okay. Su Chen walked into the Guangheng Palace with a smile on his face. Seeing this scene, Pang Qiuan's face suddenly showed a trace of relief. Fortunately, nothing unexpected happened. Su Chen walked into the Guangheng Palace, which was a very large private room. The entire decoration style was fairy-like, and there was even a trace of mist. Looking up, the ceiling was a sky curtain, just like the real night sky. A bright moon hung high, as if a stunning shadow was floating by. Su Chen nodded. This private room really took a lot of effort. Soon, footsteps were heard again outside the door. Suddenly, the door opened. An old man with a thin figure and long hair walked in. He looked feminine, with a pair of narrow eyes that occasionally flashed with brilliance. Pang Qiuan hurriedly stepped forward and introduced, "Mr. Su, this is a Southern Venerable, Mr. Khan Pinghe, of Jinglin Villa. Venerable Khan, this is Mr. Su Chen." Khan Pinghe looked at Su Chen, with a smile on his face. "Mr. Su, I've heard of your name for a long time, and today I finally get to meet you. It's a pleasure to meet you." Su Chen bowed. "You're welcome." Pang Qiuan interrupted, "If you two have anything to talk about, please sit down and talk. I'll arrange for someone to serve wine and food." Then, Pang Qiuan walked out of the box. After a while, more than a dozen waiters brought a variety of dishes. Pang Qiuan spoke again, "You two can eat and chat. I'll wait outside. If you have anything to say, please call me." As he spoke, Pang Qiuan respectfully left the box and waited outside. Compared to Khan Pinghe, Pang Qiuan's status was naturally much inferior. Although he was also a senior executive of Jinglin Villa, he was only the person who managed various industries for Jinglin Villa. The real senior executives of Jinglin Villa were only the owner and a few venerables. At times like now, he could only wait outside the door. Bang! The door of the box room closed. For a moment, only Su Chen and Khan Pinghe were left in the room facing each other. The next chapter should be after 3 o'clock. Let's go to bed first. Chapter 588. Want to kill me? You are not qualified. Khan Pinghe stared at Su Chen, his eyes flickering. He slowly said, "Mr. Su, I have admired you for a long time." "Really?" Su Chen chuckled. "This is the first time I have heard of Mr. Khan's name." Khan Pinghe was stunned. He didn't expect that Su Chen would not even say a word of politeness. This was the first time he had seen someone who couldn't speak so well. Khan Pinghe laughed dryly. "Haha. Mr. Su is very humorous." Su Chen said calmly, "I'm not kidding you. I'm serious." Suddenly, Khan Pinghe didn't know what to say. Before, he had never heard Pang Qiuan say that Su Chen was so difficult to communicate with. Khan Pinghe didn't take it seriously. He felt that Su Chen might not have any ill intentions, but his speaking style was always like this. Khan Pinghe asked, "Mr. Su, you are already a top-level expert in the innate realm at such a young age. It can be said that you are extremely talented." Su Chen nodded. "I think so too." Khan Pinghe? He really wanted to ask Su Chen, "Don't you know what humility is?" Khan Pinghe finally confirmed one thing. This Su Chen definitely has a low EQ and is born with an unpleasant way of speaking. However, he didn't know that Su Chen was about to burst into laughter in his heart. Since Su Chen entered the Guangheng Palace, he had already determined that he would definitely turn hostile to him later, so he deliberately teased Khan Pinghe at this time. Khan Pinghe took a deep breath and suppressed his anger. He continued, "Mr. Su, I still admire a genius martial arts cultivator like you very much." Su Chen nodded. "I admire myself too." Khan Pinghe was too lazy to respond to Su Chen's words. He went straight to the point and said, "But Mr. Su, you should know that, although a martial arts genius is a genius, it may not be possible for them to reach the peak smoothly. For example, although you have reached the peak of innateness at a young age, you may not be able to step into the divine realm in the next 10 years. Su Chen said seriously. Yes, you are right. Qian Pinghei's face lit up with joy and was very relieved. This Su Chen finally got it. However, the next second, Su Chen was thankful. Fortunately, I'm already at the peak of the innate realm at such a young age, so I still have plenty of time. If I can't reach the divine realm in 10 years, I can use 20 years. With one sentence, he directly blocked all of Qian Pinghei's words of persuading Su Chen to join Jinglin Villa. Su Chen looked at Qian Pinghei and said with some sympathy, Mr. Qian, you are a little dangerous at your age. The qi and blood have begun to decline. If you don't break through the divine realm in the next 1 or 2 years, I guess there will be no hope in this life. Qian Pinghei's mouth twitched. He felt that his heart was a little painful. This young bastard in front of him really can't talk. Qian Pinghei gritted his teeth and continued to guide Su Chen. Su Chen, have you ever thought about what if you are stuck at the peak of the innate realm and can't step into the divine realm for 20 years? Hearing this, Su Chen's face suddenly sank. Qian Pinghei smiled. He felt that his words had worked. But the next second, Su Chen raised his head with a bright smile on his face. Then I will use 30 years. Anyway, I'm still young. In another 30 years, my blood and qi should be much more vigorous than Mr. Qian's now, which is completely enough. Qian Pinghei. He stared at Su Chen with a kind smile on his face, but he was about to curse in his heart. Can't you cooperate with me for a while? Can't you just ask me if there is any good way? Can't you just not stab my heart? Now, I want to strangle you to death. Do you know that? Qian Pinghei feels that he is now a variety show host. The dog guest insisted on diverting the topic away and not following the program process. Not only can he not pull it back, but he will also be stabbed in the heart. There was no way. Qian Pinghei could only give up the idea of letting Su Chen support him and start to follow the process himself. He said, Mr. Su, you should know that there is an insurmountable gap between the innate realm and the divine realm. But if there is a divine realm expert to guide the peak of the innate realm, it will definitely break through the divine realm quickly. And the owner of our Jinglin Villa is a divine realm expert. After speaking, Qian Pinghei looked at Su Chen with an arrogant face. And Su Chen's face suddenly showed a touch of shock. Qian Pinghei was very satisfied with Su Chen's expression. Then, Su Chen said, Mr. Qian, do you mean that your owner is a land immortal and can guide the peak of the innate realm to quickly enter the divine realm? That's right. Qian Pinghei looked proud. He picked up the teacup and drank a sip of water, and he breathed a sigh of relief. This bastard finally understood. Now, he should be tempted, right? The next second, Su Chen asked, Mr. Qian, you have been guided by your owner for so many years. Are you about to reach the divine realm? Ahem. Qian Pinghei didn't swallow a mouthful of water and almost choked himself. He hurriedly stirred and put the teacup away. Su Chen still looked innocent and asked, Mr. Qian, what's wrong with you? Qian Pinghei was so angry that he could no longer suppress it. He said with a gloomy face, Su Chen, I won't beat around the bush. I want you to join our Jinglin Villa and become my subordinate. In the future, you will work for Jinglin Villa, and Jinglin Villa will provide you with cultivation resources. The owner and I can both guide you in your cultivation. What do you think? Su Chen sneered in his heart. This Qian Pinghei's mental quality is also average. It's only been a few rounds, and he can't act anymore. Not so good. Su Chen shook his head slowly. Qian Pinghei was stunned. What did you say? Su Chen said calmly, I have no shortage of cultivation resources. You can't guide me in cultivation. As for your owner, I don't think he can help me with his guidance. Besides, I came to ask you for Chen Shuxing, not to join you. Why are you talking so much nonsense to me? It's simply incomprehensible. Hearing this, Qian Pinghei's eyes went dark. He finally realized that Su Chen, this bastard, was not a person with low IQ or bad speech. He did it on purpose, and he was playing tricks on him. Qian Pinghei's face flushed with anger. He shouted angrily, Su Chen, don't be shameless. Before, you killed Zhao Zhenling and Wu Kuangsha from Jinglin Villa and helped Tan Yangshan escape from Jinglin Villa, but I haven't settled accounts with you yet. Now, you dare to come to my house to ask for Chenchuxing. Do you think that Jinglin Villa is at your mercy? Su Chen said calmly, let me correct you. It's not that you don't want to settle accounts with me, but that you don't dare to settle accounts with me. Qian Pinghe heard this, and his steel teeth were about to break. Su Chen's arrogance had exceeded his imagination. Little bastard, you are very arrogant. But no matter how arrogant you are, you have to stay here today. Qian Pinghe said angrily. Then, he shouted loudly, activate the formation. The next second, a buzzing sounded. Suddenly, a stream of earthy yellow aura, accompanied by a mysterious gravity field, spread out. Su Chen felt that his body suddenly became heavier, and it was difficult to move. Even raising his hand seemed to become an extremely difficult thing. Seeing this, Qian Pinghe burst into laughter. Ha ha ha. Little bastard, aren't you crazy? Let me tell you the truth. This room has long been set up with the mysterious heavy earth formation, which can be activated at any time. You didn't expect it? Now, do you feel that your body is heavy and you can't move at all? Qian Pinghe stood up. He looked proud, but I'm not affected by the formation. At this time, even if you have superb combat power, what's the use? What can you use to fight me? Su Chen moved left and right, as if resisting this gravity. However, the effect seemed very weak. Qian Pinghe sneered, don't struggle, it's useless. Unless you are a land immortal, you will definitely not be able to break free from this mysterious heavy earth formation. Many innate idiots, like you have died in this room. As he spoke, Qian Pinghe walked towards Su Chen. Su Chen looked up, and looked at Qian Pinghe. Qian Pinghe stopped and chuckled. Don't worry, I won't risk approaching you before I completely control you. Just give up the sudden burst of heart. As the voice fell, Qian Pinghe put his index finger and middle finger together and pointed at Su Chen. Heavenly heart finger. Instantly, a stream of energy shot towards Su Chen's acupuncture points. Su Chen's body stiffened, his eyes became dull, and his head lowered. Qian Pinghe laughed loudly. What a martial arts genius. You will die in my hands anyway. He walked up to Su Chen. He raised his palm and slapped Su Chen's head hard. Qian Pinghe had a cruel smile on his face, as if he saw the scene of Su Chen's head exploding in the next second. However, at this moment, a big hand grabbed Qian Pinghe's palm fiercely. Qian Pinghe's face changed, and he looked down. He saw Su Chen looking at him with a smile on his face. Want to kill me? You are not qualified. It's the fourth update again. Good night. Chapter 589. I didn't escape. Qian Pinghe was instantly distracted. He had never thought that under the dual control of the Dark Earth Formation and his own Heavenly Heart Finger, Su Chen was not restrained at all. The Dark Earth Formation was carefully arranged by a Formation Master of Jinglin Villa in Guanghan Palace, specifically to suppress the opponent's movement. And his own Heavenly Heart Finger can kill by acupuncture. Just now, he clearly saw that Su Chen had fainted. As a result, Su Chen pinched Qian Pinghe's hand and sneered, I'm just teasing you. As soon as the voice fell, Su Chen's vitality surged in his body, and it trembled wildly according to the operation of the 9 extremes. The next second, in Qian Pinghe's shocked eyes, Su Chen stood up suddenly. The momentum of his whole body burst out, completely breaking through the restrictions of the Dark Earth Formation. Qian Pinghe was stunned. Su Chen exerted force with his hand. Crack. Qian Pinghe's arm bone was directly broken. Ah! He screamed. But Su Chen did not stop his hand, and hit out with a palm. Puff. Qian Pinghe spat out blood and flew backwards. Su Chen struck out with a palm and hit a corner. Bang. There was a bursting sound. The earthy yellow formation aura disappeared quickly. How do you know where the formation core is? Qian Pinghe fell to the ground, his face full of horror. Before, the Formation Master of Jinglin Villa had said that it was difficult for ordinary warriors to find the formation core of Guanghan Palace. Su Chen smiled coldly. Before entering the box, he had already checked the room with his mental power. If he was not sure of winning, he would not let himself fall into danger casually, because that is not called confidence, but stupidity. Su Chen stepped forward and walked to the side of Qian Pinghe, who looked depressed. With your strength, it is difficult for me to convince myself to become your subordinate, Su Chen said lightly. Qian Pinghe's face was blue and red. He said with an ugly face, Su Chen, I admit that I underestimated you. Let me go, and let's leave it at that. Su Chen smiled coldly. You almost killed me, and now you want to get even with me? You have a good plan. A look of panic flashed across Qian Pinghei's face. Su Chen, what do you want to do? Su Chen said coldly, you want my life. Guess what I want to do now? Qian Pinghei became even more flustered. He said repeatedly, Su Chen, don't be impulsive. The owner of Arjinglin Villa is a real land immortal. If you dare to kill me, you will die. Really? Su Chen sneered repeatedly. Then I really want to try. As he spoke, Su Chen raised his hand again. Qian Pinghei begged hurriedly, Su Chen, don't. Please don't kill me. I have money and a powerful martial arts secret book. Don't kill me, I'll give it all to you. As he spoke, Qian Pinghei hurriedly took out 2 bank cards and a secret book from his body. The secret book says exactly Heavenly Heart Finger. Su Chen was slightly stunned. Qian Pinghei had used this Heavenly Heart Finger just now, and it was indeed quite unique. Unlike the powerful attack of the Vajra Finger, this Heavenly Heart Finger is faster, and has controllable strength, and seems to be more effective in controlling acupoints. Seeing that Su Chen seemed to be somewhat tempted, Qian Pinghei continued, Su Chen, as long as you let me go, I will tell you the passwords of the 2 bank cards. In response, Su Chen punched him with a 7-injury fist. Bang! Qian Pinghei's mouth was bleeding, and he stared at Su Chen in confusion. But Su Chen said coldly, I'm not interested in the money in your bank card at all. And the Heavenly Heart Finger that I'm interested in is my trophy. Do you still need to give it to me? Qian Pinghei fell to the ground with his eyes open, looking desperate. Died with his eyes open. If he had known that Su Chen was so strong, he would never have ambushed Su Chen here. Picking up the Heavenly Heart Finger, Su Chen simply flipped through it. Soon, his face suddenly became overjoyed. This Xiangxin finger was actually more advanced than the Vajra finger. Not only could the strength be adjusted as desired, but it also did not require too much time to accumulate strength, and could even be used in group battles. This trip was worth it. Su Chen smiled. Then, he walked to the door of the box and suddenly opened it. Venerable Nan, congratulations. Before Pan Qiuan finished speaking, he was stunned on the spot. Because he had already seen clearly that the person who walked out of Guanhan Palace was Su Chen. Swish. A stream of cold sweat immediately slid down Pan Qiuan's forehead. Su Chen. Pan Qiuan's voice could not help but tremble wildly. Su Chen looked at Pan Qiuan with a smile. Mr. Pang, Venerable Qian just passed away, and you come to congratulate him. It's a bit inappropriate. Passed away. Pan Qiuan shuddered immediately. He mustered up his courage and stretched his head to look into Guanhan Palace. Qian Pinghei's body fell in the box. Bang! Pan Qiuan suddenly knelt down. Dung. 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 He kowtowed to Su Chen frantically. Mr. Su, please spare my life. Qian Pinghei is a real senior executive at Jinglin Villa and my boss. I have no way to refuse him. I really don't want to be your enemy sincerely. Please understand. Pan Qiuan looked flustered. He didn't expect that the person who finally walked out of Guanhan Palace was Su Chen. Seeing Pan Qiuan's trembling figure, Su Chen chuckled. Do you know where Chen Shuxing is? Pan Qiuan nodded quickly. I know. Then, he told Su Chen the address. Su Chen sent the address to Tan Yangshan and asked him to prepare and rescue Chen Shuxing with him later. Putting away the phone, Su Chen looked at Pan Qiuan. From now on, Pan Qiuan said first. From now on, I will be your dog. Mr. Su, whatever you ask me to do, I will do it. In order to save his life, Pan Qiuan was completely shameless. Su Chen nodded, not bothering to pay attention to him. I'll leave this to you to clean up. Pan Qiuan nodded quickly. Okay. Mr. Su, just go and do your thing. Su Chen turned and left. Pan Qiuan sat down on the ground and let out a long sigh. It took him a long time to come back to his senses. Pan Qiuan struggled to get up and walked into the box. Seeing Qian Pinghei, who died with his eyes open, he shuddered. Venerable Qian, you relied on Guanhan Palace, but you still died. He shook his head, picked up the phone, and started to call people to deal with it. On the other side, Su Chen left Guanhan Palace, and after walking a few steps, he felt 2 familiar breaths. Whoosh, whoosh. 2 figures appeared in front of Su Chen in an instant. Su Chen looked at the two old men in front of him and smiled. Mr. Jiang, why are you here? Aren't you protecting Miss Yu? The two brothers Jiang Jian and Jiang Dao appeared in front of Su Chen. Jiang Jian said, Mr. Su, it was Miss Yu Zhenai who asked us to come here. She told us that you might be in trouble and asked us to come and help. Su Chen smiled, but his heart was warm. Jiang Dao looked behind Su Chen and asked, Mr. Su, did you just come out of Guanghan Palace? Su Chen nodded, yes. Qian Pinghe wanted to deal with me, but now it's okay. Jiang Jian and Jiang Dao looked at each other, their eyes full of shock. Jiang Dao sighed, Mr. Su, you are really blessed. I have heard before that Guanghan Palace in Shanshu Garden is very strange, and it has killed many masters. It is said that, if you don't become a land immortal, it will be impossible to escape. I didn't expect you to escape. Su Chen shook his head and said lightly, I didn't escape. I killed Qian Pinghe, and then walked out. For a moment, the two brothers Jiang Dao and Jiang Jian were stunned. Chapter 590. Have you had enough trouble? The brothers Jiang Jian and Jiang Dao were a little confused. Jiang Dao asked, did you kill Qian Pinghe, the southern venerable of Jinglin Villa? Su Chen nodded, yes. Jiang Jian asked, in the box of Guanghan Palace? Yes. Su Chen nodded. The two old men didn't know what to say. However, they thought about it again. Even Zhang Longhu, the leader of the Wu League, admitted defeat to Su Chen. In this case, it makes sense that Su Chen killed Qian Pinghe in Guanghan Palace. The two looked at Su Chen with complicated eyes. This young man is really too evil, and it is impossible to judge him by common sense. Jiang Dao looked curious and asked, Mr. Su, can you tell us what is so special about Guanghan Palace? Jiang Jian also looked expectant. Su Chen smiled and told him what happened inside. Jiang Dao was surprised and exclaimed, it turned out to be a suppression array set up by the array master. No wonder all the masters below the god realm died there. Jiang Jian glanced at Su Chen and said nothing. He was sure that Su Chen's instant burst could definitely reach the god realm. The battle against Zhang Longhu, the leader of the Wu League, was a proof, and this time, breaking the Yalxuan heavy earth array with brute force was another proof. Su Chen looked at the two old men with sighs on their faces and smiled. He said, you two, let's stop chatting, and go find Miss Yu Zhenai first. Jiang Dao and Jiang Jian nodded. Su Chen picked up his phone and called Yu Zhenai. On the other side, the Linxiao Pavilion box is another box in Shanshu Garden. At this time, Linxiao Pavilion was in a lively atmosphere. Nearly 20 young men and women were chatting and joking loudly, and it was very lively. Sitting in the first seat was Feng Yuanji. When he was in school, Feng Yuanji was the class monitor. Now, he is the deputy general manager of Shanshuan and the organizer of this class reunion. It can be said that he is the absolute protagonist of this class reunion and the object of flattery. Next to Feng Yuanji, Yu Zhenai was sitting. This position was naturally arranged by Feng Yuanji. Although Yu Zhenai was not very happy, she was embarrassed to refuse. Amid the flattery of her classmates, Feng Yuanji was very proud and felt very comfortable. He turned to look at Yu Zhenai and asked with a smile, Zhenai, do you have any good suggestions for me as a deputy general manager to carry out my work in the future? Yu Zhenai was still worried about Su Chen and was suddenly called and was stunned. Feng Yuanji saw this and felt a little dissatisfied. He guessed that Yu Zhenai must have been worried about Su Chen just now. A girl with freckles on her face said to the side, Zhenai, the monitor is asking you a question. Why are you so absent-minded? Yu Zhenai was a little embarrassed. Sorry, monitor. I was just thinking about something else. The freckled girl asked curiously, Zhenai, I see you have been absent-minded since you came into the box. What are you thinking about? Yu Zhenai smiled dryly. Nothing. Okay. Seeing that Yu Zhenai didn't want to talk, the freckled girl stopped asking. Yu Zhenai, however, continued to be too lazy to pay attention to Feng Yuanji. Feng Yuanji's face looked a little ugly. He said, Zhenai, I know you are worried about Su Chen, but don't think too much that Su Chen must be dead. Hearing this, Yu Zhenai was furious. Feng Yuanji, shut up. The box was suddenly quiet. All the classmates looked puzzled and looked over. What happened? Why did the monitor quarrel with Yu Zhenai? I don't know. It seems that Yu Zhaohe is worried about that friend. The monitor said, that person is dead. What's going on? I don't know, just keep watching. A group of classmates whispered. Feng Yuanji was annoyed when he saw that Yu Zhaohe still had this attitude towards him. He said coldly, Zhaohe, I know you don't like to hear it, but it's the fact. Our Shanshu Garden is affiliated with Jinglin Villa, the top power in the provincial capital. Even the 8 major families in the provincial capital are nothing in front of our Jinglin Villa. And the Guanghan Palace box in our Shanshu Garden is specially used to entertain enemies who offend our Jinglin Villa. I don't know how many martial arts masters have been dealt with in it. The most was once 6 top masters who entered the Guanghan Palace box together. In the end, they were carried out dead. That Su Chen offended Jinglin Villa and now entered Guanghan Palace. There is only one way to die. Yu Zhaohe's face became more and more ugly. Feng Yuanji looked proud. So, it's good to lean on a big tree for shade. To get along in society, you still have to find a powerful backer. Like Jinglin Villa behind our Shanshu Garden, this is the best backer. Su Chen may have some ability, but if he offends Jinglin Villa, he is nothing. On the side, the classmates immediately understood the whole story. Everyone started to discuss. So that's how it is. No wonder Zhaohe is worried. Alas. If you ask me, that Su Chen is asking for death. Jinglin Villa is so powerful, he still wants to offend it, and he dares to come to the appointment. This is looking for death. The class monitor is still powerful. He directly got the deputy general manager in Shanshu Garden. Maybe he can become a senior executive of Jinglin Villa in the future. That's right. In the future, class monitor Feng will definitely become a giant of our provincial capital. When that time comes, class monitor, don't forget me. The classmates immediately flattered him. Feng Yuanji looked very happy. He even had the illusion that he might become the owner of Jinglin Villa in the future. At this moment, bang, the door of Linxiao Pavilion suddenly opened. Everyone turned their heads quickly. They saw a young man with an evil smile, walking in casually. Yu Zhaohe looked up and was suddenly startled. Then, a trace of disgust appeared on her face. Because she knew the person who came. It was Ning Light's grandson, Ning Bufan. Ning Bufan's eyes swept across everyone's faces, and he found Yu Zhaohe in an instant. Haha. Yu Zhaohe, you are here. Ning Bufan came over with excitement. At this time, Feng Yuanji suddenly stood up and stopped Ning Bufan. Stop. Who the hell are you? What are you doing in our box? Feng Yuanji asked. Ning Bufan stopped, looked at Feng Yuanji, and sneered. I'm Ning Bufan, who the hell are you? Feng Yuanji thought about it, and had never heard of this name. He said proudly, my name is Feng Yuanji, and I'm the deputy general manager of Shanshuilan. As soon as the voice fell, Ning Bufan raised his hand and slapped him directly. Bang. Feng Yuanji's face swelled up instantly. Ning Bufan said coldly, who the hell did I think you were? Turns out you're just a deputy general manager. How dare you act so aggressively towards me? Feng Yuanji's face flushed instantly. Today was a class reunion. After he got promoted and had a pay raise, he had originally wanted to show off himself. As a result, he was slapped in the face in public. Fuck you. Feng Yuanji was immediately furious and rushed forward with his fist raised. At this time, several bodyguards rushed in from outside the box and pressed Feng Yuanji to the ground. Fuck. How dare you hit our class monitor? Brothers, come on. More than a dozen male classmates stood up and were about to help. As a result, the bodyguards knocked them all down in no time. Ah. The girls screamed in fear. Bang. Yu Zhaohe slammed the table and shouted, Ning Bufan, have you had enough of the trouble? The box suddenly became quiet. Everyone looked at Yu Zhaohe. Come out within half an hour. Next chapter. Chapter 591. Despicable. Ning Bufan smiled. He waved his hand, and several bodyguards immediately let go of Feng Yuanji and others. Zhaohe, don't blame me. It was this shitty deputy manager who showed off to me first. You know, I don't like people competing with me for background the most. I'm Ning Bufan, but I'm Ning Light's grandson. Have I ever boasted to others? He's a lousy deputy manager, and he dares to show off to me. This is clearly forcing me to beat him up. Ning Bufan's face was full of oily words. However, the people around him finally knew Ning Bufan's identity. Feng Yuanji's face showed even more fear. If he had known earlier that this young man was Ning Lide's grandson, he would never have punched Ning Bufan. At this moment, Feng Yuanji was even glad that the bodyguards appeared in time and stopped him. In the provincial capital's business community, Ning Lide is very famous and is a well-known giant. Before, he had been the president of the provincial capital chamber of commerce until he was defeated by Yu Fulei in this term. Ning Bufan came up to Yu Zinayu with a smile and said, "Zinayu, I've been thinking about you for a long time, but you don't come out every day. Today, I finally met you." Yu Zinayu said with an annoyed look. "Ning Bufan, today is my class reunion. Can you please stop making trouble?" Ning Bufan smiled and said, "So it's your class reunion, Zinayu, then I have to participate." As he said that, he turned his head and said to the classmates, "What are you all standing there for? Hurry up and take a seat. This is Zinayu's class reunion. If anyone dares not to attend the reunion and makes her angry, I will deal with him." Everyone still didn't understand what was going on. But when Ning Bufan spoke, they dared not listen and immediately sat back in their seats. And Feng Yuanji, trembling, sat down next to Yu Zinayu. Ning Bufan looked at him coldly. "Where are you sitting?" Feng Yuanji trembled and said, "I was sitting here just now." Bang! Ning Bufan slapped him again. The other side of Feng Yuanji's face swelled up again. Ning Bufan said coldly, "Now, have you figured out where you should sit?" Feng Yuanji stood up quickly and said respectfully, "Please sit. Please sit." As he spoke, he quickly found a chair and added a seat next to other classmates. For a moment, everyone was silent and dared not speak. Yu Zinayu was furious. She gritted her teeth and looked at Ning Bufan and said coldly, "What do you want to do?" Ning Bufan said indifferently, "Zinayu, I'm not doing anything. I'm just accompanying my girlfriend to a class reunion." Everyone immediately looked at Yu Zinayu. Yu Zinayu said angrily, "I'm not your girlfriend. Besides, we are not familiar with each other. You are not allowed to call me Zinayu." Ning Bufan smiled and said, "Zinayu, don't say that. My grandfather is Ning Lide, the president of the previous provincial capital chamber of commerce, and your brother is Yu Fulei, the current president of the provincial capital chamber of commerce. We are a perfect match, a natural match." As soon as these words came out, all the classmates were shocked. Until now, Yu Zinayu had never revealed that her brother was a big shot in the business world. They had always thought that Yu Zinayu was from an ordinary family. And Feng Yuanji was even more shocked. He thought that, after becoming the deputy general manager of Shinshuilan, he would be able to match Yu Zinayu, the school belle of that year. So, he organized this class reunion and found other classmates to act as babysitters, asking them to keep praising him. Now it seems that in Yu Zinayu's eyes, his performance just now is probably like a clown. Feng Yuanji's face changed several times. Yu Zinayu felt the change in her classmates' eyes and became even more angry. Ning Bufan's behavior directly made it impossible for her to interact normally with her classmates. "Ning Bu Fan." Yu Zinayu shouted word by word. However, Ning Bufan was grinning. "Honey, I'm here. Get out. I don't want to see you." Yu Zinayu said angrily. Ning Bufan refused. "No, honey. These days, you don't even leave the house. I miss you so much that I can't sleep. We finally meet. Shouldn't we have a good drink and chat?" As he spoke, Ning Bufan took out the wine glass. He poured a glass for himself and Yu Zinayu. "Come on, Zinayu, let's clink glasses." Ning Bufan smiled. Yu Zinayu had a dark face and didn't want to look at him at all. "I don't drink." Ning Bufan was not angry. He said lightly, "Zinayu doesn't want to drink. It seems that she must be in a bad mood. If you are in a bad mood, you have to do something to make you feel better." As he spoke, Ning Bufan pointed at Feng Yuanji. "You are the class monitor, right? Then you can perform a show for my Zinayu." Feng Yuanji was confused. His face was full of humiliation, and he gritted his teeth and said, I don't know how to perform a show." "Waste," Ning Bufan scolded. Then, he turned to the bodyguards and said, "Ask what leader doesn't know how to perform. You teach him." "Yes." Two bodyguards stepped forward, dragged Feng Yuanji out of his seat, and then controlled him. Feng Yuanji was panicked. "What are you going to do?" A bodyguard walked up to him and sneered. What? Of course, I'm going to teach you how to perform. As soon as the words fell, the bodyguard raised his hand and slapped Feng Yuanji in the face. Snap. Then, another slap. Snap. Snap. For a moment, the whole box was instantly quiet. Only the slapping of the face and Feng Yuanji's screams echoed. User Nai's face changed, and she said angrily, Ning Bufan, let them stop. You bastard. What are you doing? Ning Bufan raised his hand and the bodyguard stopped. Feng Yuanji's face was swollen like a pig's head. His face was covered with tears. Woo woo. Stop hitting me. Please, stop hitting me. Ning Bufan looked at User Nai and smiled. Aren't you in a bad mood and don't want to drink? I'll let you, the class monitor, perform a show to make you happy so that you can drink happily. Now, can you drink? Or should I let the class monitor continue to perform for you? Ning Bufan smiled easily, but in Uzunayu's eyes, he looked like a devil. Asshole, you are so despicable. Uzunayu gritted her teeth. Ning Bufan smiled. Dear, you are so beautiful when you curse. You. Uzunayu was so angry that she trembled all over, but there was nothing she could do. Ning Bufan handed the wine glass to Uzunayu and asked, now, can we drink? Uzunayu looked humiliated. Okay, I drink. She gritted her teeth and was about to raise the glass to drink. At this moment, ding-ling-ling. On the desktop, Uzunayu's mobile phone rang. Uzunayu glanced at the screen of the mobile phone, and the caller ID was Su Chen. Su Chen is not dead, he is still safe. Uzunayu's face lit up with joy, and she didn't care about drinking. She put down her wine glass and went to get her mobile phone. As a result, Ning Bufan was quick-witted and took her mobile phone first. Hey, Su Chen. Who is this? Ning Bufan took Uzunayu's mobile phone and pressed the answer button. Hello. Who the hell are you? Don't you know that I'm drinking with my girlfriend? Get away. If you call me again, I will fucking kill you. After saying that, Ning Bufan hung up the phone directly. Uzunayu's face was ugly. Asshole, you. Ning Bufan sneered. Don't be angry, my wife. Let's drink. If you don't drink, the monitor will have to perform again. On the side, Feng Yuanji shuddered all over. He hurriedly said, Uzunayu, you should accompany Mr. Ning to drink. Uzunayu was so angry that she picked up the wine glass and was about to drink it all. At this time, Ning Bufan suddenly spoke again. Wait, Zunayu, I think we should drink a cup of wine together. Uzunayu's face turned completely dark. The next chapter will be at least after 3 o'clock. Let's go to bed first. Chapter 592 teach you how to perform. Drinking a wedding wine. In the box, all the students were stunned, and their faces showed anger. Ning Bufan was simply humiliating people, and Uzunayu also had a gloomy face. Ning Bufan, don't go too far. Ning Bufan smiled smugly. Too far? How am I going too far? In the future, you will definitely marry me. It's normal for us to drink a wedding wine in advance, isn't it? It just so happens that your classmates are here now. Let's let them be witnesses. After drinking the wedding wine, let's go to the bridal chamber. How about it? Ha ha ha. Ning Bufan smiled proudly and arrogantly. Uzunayu bit her lower lip with her pearly teeth. Asshole, you are dreaming. Yo. Ning Bufan smiled coldly. Zunayu, are you unhappy again? As he spoke, Ning Bufan turned his head and looked at the bodyguard. Are you fucking idiots? Can't you see that my girlfriend is unhappy? Hurry up and get on the show. The bodyguard pulled Feng Yuanji up again and continued to slap his face. Snap, snap, bang. Feng Yuanji screamed repeatedly. Ah. Please, stop hitting me. Let me go. At the end, Feng Yuanji shouted, Uzunayu, come and have a drink with Mr. Ning. Uzunayu's face was ugly. Ning Bufan raised his hand, and the bodyguard stopped immediately. Feng Yuanji's face was red and swollen, and he breathed a sigh of relief. Ning Bufan smiled and looked at Uzunayu. Look, your class monitor said so. Uzunayu's face showed hesitation. At this time, Ning Bufan said mischievously, if you don't agree, then I will select 2 more from your classmates to perform a show. After saying this, all the classmates became more panicked. Some even persuaded Uzunayu. Zunayu, isn't it just a drink? What will happen if you drink it? Yes. Yes. It's just a cup of wine. You won't die if you drink it. The class monitor has been hurt so badly by you. Do you still want to hurt us? Several girls scolded loudly. On the side, Ning Bufan was very happy. He wanted to use these people to force Yuzanayu to surrender little by little. Yuzanayu's face was full of humiliation, but in the end she could only say one word. Okay. Ning Bufan laughed and said, don't wrong yourself. If you are unhappy about drinking a wedding wine with me, then I can only let your classmates perform a show. I'm not unhappy. Yuzanayu's tears were spinning wildly in her eyes. Ning Bufan seemed very happy to see this scene, with a smug look on his face. He stuffed the wine glass into Yuzanayu's hand, and then smiled and said, then let's drink a wedding wine. As he spoke, he held out the wine glass, and waited for Yuzanayu to come over. Ning Bufan turned his head, and looked at all the classmates. At this time, shouldn't you applaud and bless and encourage Zinayu? All the classmates panicked, and began to applaud wildly. Yuzanayu's face was full of humiliation, but she had no way out. She didn't want to let her classmates be humiliated because of herself. Ning Bufan looked proud, watching Yuzanayu slowly hold out the wine glass. At this moment, bang, the door of the private room suddenly exploded. A slender figure suddenly appeared at the door. It was Su Chen. Su Chen had just called Yuzanayu, and after Ning Bufan hung up, he knew that Yuzanayu was in trouble. So, he rushed over, and found this private room. Seeing the scene in the box, Su Chen immediately understood what happened. Feng Yuanji was a little confused when he saw Su Chen. No one in Guanghan Palace has ever walked out alive. How come he is okay? But Yuzanayu didn't think so much. Su Chen, are you okay? She quickly put down the wine glass and shouted with surprise. It's just a little trouble. It's been solved. Do you have any trouble here? Su Chen said as he slowly stepped into the private room. Bang! Ning Bufan slapped the table with his palm. Boy, you just came to my private room and disturbed my good things. You better have a reason. Otherwise. Before he could finish, Su Chen stepped forward, grabbed Ning Bufan's collar, and then threw him away. Bang! Ning Bufan was thrown against the door. Bang! He fell to the ground with a dazed head. Su Chen asked calmly, what else can you do? For a moment, the entire Linxiao pavilion fell silent. All of Yuzanayu's classmates looked at Su Chen in shock. They all knew Ning Bufan's identity, so they looked at Su Chen with a bit of pity and resentment, because they were all afraid that Ning Bufan would be angry with them. Feng Yuanji was even more confused. He just wanted to organize a class reunion, show off, and see if he could hook up with Yuzanayu, the school beauty of that year. As a result, not only did he get beaten up, but now Ning Bufan also suffered in his box. The more Feng Yuanji thought about it, the more panicked he became. Several bodyguards were even more shocked. Su Chen's move just now was too sudden. By the time they reacted, Ning Bufan had already flown out. Master! The bodyguards hurried forward and helped Ning Bufan up. Ning Bufan grimaced in pain, and he looked at Su Chen viciously. You little bastard, you're dead. You're fucking dead. Su Chen ignored him at all, and turned to ask Yuzanayu, who is this grandson? Yuzanayu hurriedly said, this bastard is called Ning Bufan. He is the grandson of Ning Lied. Su Chen was stunned. Isn't that the guy who doesn't get along with Yu File and Gao Zepun? Moreover, it was him who didn't let the Wu Meng provide Yuzanayu with expert bodyguards. Heh, it's really a grandson. Su Chen sneered. He continued to ask, what did this grandson want to do just now? Yuzanayu looked at Su Chen, as if she had found a backer, and told him everything that happened just now. He beat Feng Yuanji, and forced me to drink. Later, he took my classmates. When you came in, he was forcing me to drink the wedding wine. After Su Chen heard this, a cold light flashed in his eyes. This Ning Bufan is really arrogant and domineering. Ning Bufan was furious when he saw that Su Chen ignored him and approached Yuzanayu to flirt with him. You son of a bitch, you dare to be so arrogant in front of me. Beat this son of a bitch and break all 3 of his legs. Several bodyguards looked at Su Chen fiercely and rushed towards him. However, the next second, bang, bang, bang. There were several loud noises in succession, and Su Chen made a lightning move, and all the bodyguards fell to the ground. For a moment, everyone was stunned. Ning Bufan was also dumbfounded on the spot. Su Chen sneered and walked towards Ning Bufan. You seem to like drinking and performing shows, right? Ning Bufan kept backing away. What do you want to do? My grandfather is Ning lied. If you dare to touch me. Bang. Su Chen made a lightning kick and hit Ning Bufan in the stomach. Boom. Ning Bufan flew backwards, hit the wall hard, and slid to his knees. Did I ask who your grandfather is? Su Chen said coldly. Listen carefully to my question. Do you like performing shows? Do you like drinking? Don't lie to me. I don't like to hear people lie to me. Ning Bufan knelt on the ground, feeling that his internal organs were twisted together. He raised his head, looked at Su Chen's cold eyes, and said with a struggle, I like it. I like it. Su Chen said coldly, then perform one for us. Ning Bufan looked humiliated. I can't. Su Chen raised his eyebrows. No? Then I'll teach you. As he spoke, he stepped forward and grabbed Ning Bufan. What are you doing? Ning Bufan looked flustered. Su Chen said lightly, teach you to perform a show. Chapter 4. Good night everyone. Pay attention to protection. Chapter 593 Regret. Ning Bufan's face was filled with fear. But Su Chen ignored all this. He grabbed Ning Bufan and pressed him directly onto the table. Crash. All the dishes and drinks were scattered. Ning Bufan was covered in grease. Don't you like drinking? Come. I'll let you drink enough. As he spoke, Su Chen picked up a bottle of wine, pinched Ning Bufan's mouth open, and poured it in with the bottle's mouth. Ning Bufan struggled desperately, but how could he break free from Su Chen's control? A bottle of wine blocked Ning Bufan's mouth and poured down. Ning Bufan was forced to swallow, and the wine overflowed from the corners of his mouth. Gulp. A bottle of white wine was quickly emptied. Su Chen picked up another bottle and stuffed it into Ning Bufan's mouth again. Ning Bufan's face turned red from choking, and tears flowed from his eyes. It was because he was suffocated, and it was also because of the spicy wine. Everyone in the box of Linxiao Pavilion was stunned. They never expected that Su Chen would be so fierce. Ning Bufan is the grandson of Ning Lied, a big shot in the provincial capital. He is a top second generation rich man. Now, he is being played around with by Su Chen like a toy. And Feng Yuanji even wanted to die. Su Chen made Ning Bufan like this. If he wants to take revenge on everyone in the future, he, the organizer of the class reunion, will probably be the first to be unlucky. Yuzanayu was also a little worried when she saw that Ning Bufan was about to die. She hurried forward and said to Su Chen, Su Chen, that's enough. Just teach him a lesson, otherwise his grandfather won't let it go. Su Chen smiled. Ning lied? He won't let it go? It's good that I won't go to find him. Ning lied not only attacked the Fue siblings, but also Gao Zeping. To a certain extent, even if he and Su Chen have never met, they are destined to be enemies. However, despite saying so, seeing Yuzanayu's worried look, Su Chen still threw Ning Bufan out. Bang. Ning Bufan was thrown to the door, and the whole person was knocked unconscious. He was in a mess, with soup and wine all over his body. Ning Bufan struggled on the ground for a long time, and slowly stood up. He stared at Su Chen, his face full of humiliation and resentment. Asshole, I swear, you are dead. Su Chen said lightly, don't you like drinking? I just let you do what you like. Why are you unhappy? Ning Bufan was so angry that his lungs were about to explode. Wait for me. As he spoke, he made a phone call. Su Chen didn't care, pulled out a chair and sat down, chatting with Yuzanayu. Ning Bufan hung up the phone and saw this scene. He was so angry that he was shaking. The classmates around him were panicked, but they didn't dare to leave. At this moment, a burst of hurried footsteps came. Then, several figures walked in from outside. The leader was none other than Pan Qian. Behind him, there were several martial arts practitioners. They were apparently the guards of the garden. Pan Qian swept his eyes across the messy box and shouted angrily, who dares to cause trouble in my garden? Do you think you don't take my Jinglin villa seriously? Seeing this, Feng Yuanji's eyes lit up. Pan Qian was the boss of the garden and Feng Yuanji's immediate superior. Moreover, it was said that he was also a senior executive of Jinglin Villa. The senior executives of Jinglin Villa would not be afraid of Ning Lied at all. For a moment, Feng Yuanji also had a little more confidence. He stepped forward and pointed at Ning Bufan. Boss Pang, you're finally here. I was having a class reunion with my classmates, and this kid broke into our box to make trouble. Not only did he beat me, but he also forced my classmates to drink with him. You have to take care of me. Pang Yuan looked at Feng Yuanji, then turned to look at Ning Bufan. He frowned slightly, and looked at Ning Bufan. Seeing Ning Bufan's miserable appearance, Pang Yuan was stunned. He asked, Ning Bufan, is that so? Ning Bufan looked at Feng Yuanji and smiled coldly, Uncle Feng, how dare I mess around in your place? Look at me, I'm the victim. Feng Yuanji heard this Uncle Feng, and immediately cried out in his heart. Sure enough, the next second, bang, Pang Yuan slapped Feng Yuanji in the face. Xiaofan grew up under my care, how dare you talk nonsense? Feng Yuanji covered his face with a look of panic. On the side, Ning Bufan sneered and stepped forward. Little bastard, I didn't expect you to hate me and want Uncle Pang to teach me a lesson. Uncle Pang was the one I called to help. You didn't expect it? Hearing this, Feng Yuanji's face instantly turned bitter. It turned out that Ning Bufan's call was to Pang Yuan. Little brat, I'll play with you later. Ning Bufan glared at Feng Yuanji coldly, then turned to look at Pang Yuan. Uncle Pang, I want you to deal with this kid, not this one. Pang Yuan immediately said, then who provoked you? That bastard. Ning Bufan turned his head and pointed at Su Chen. Pang Yuan turned his head and saw Su Chen clearly. Go. Seeing Su Chen sitting next to Yu Zhenyu, Pang Yuan swallowed his saliva. There were more than 20 young people in this box. Before, his attention was on Feng Yuanji and Ning Bufan, and he didn't notice Su Chen sitting in the crowd at all. At this time, Su Chen grinned at him, and Pang Yuan was instantly shocked and broke out in a cold sweat. The appearance of Kan Pinghei's body in the Guanghan Palace box once again appeared in Pang Yuan's mind. On the side, Ning Bufan didn't know Pang Yuan's fear. He pointed at Su Chen and shouted angrily, Uncle Pang, it's this bastard. Not only did he beat me, he also pressed me on the table and forced me to drink 2 bottles of wine. Hurry up and send someone to teach him a lesson. I'm going to beat this bastard so hard that his mother won't recognize him. Ning Bufan's voice had just fallen. Pang Yuan turned around suddenly. Bang. He slapped Ning Bufan hard on the face. Ning Bufan turned around on the spot, and the whole person was stunned. Uncle Pang, why did you hit me? Hit that bastard Su Chen. Ning Bufan covered his face and shouted. However, what responded to him was a kick from Pang Yuan. Bang. Ning Bufan was kicked down and fell to the ground. Pang Yuan was like crazy, kicking and scolding. You little bastard, you dare to scold Mr. Su. It's your blessing that Mr. Su hits you. The person I respect most in my life is Mr. Su. How dare you let me do something to Mr. Su? Fuck you. You just deserve a beating. Pang Yuan cursed, while Ning Bufan punched and kicked him. Soon, Ning Bufan was beaten to tears. This scene made everyone in the box dumbfounded. The most confused one was undoubtedly Feng Yuanji. Just now, he complained to Pang Yuan about Ning Bufan, but he was slapped in the face. Now, Ning Bufan asked Pang Yuan to beat Su Chen, but Pang Yuan beat Ning Bufan. Doesn't this mean that Su Chen's status is higher than Ning Bufan? Thinking of this, Feng Yuanji was suddenly stunned. It seems that his attitude towards Su Chen has always been full of hostility. A sense of regret filled his heart. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 594, Dog Licking. After beating Ning Bufan, Pang Yuan trotted to Su Chen. He bowed his body and lowered his head and said, Mr. Su, I'm really sorry. I didn't know that this kid offended you. You decide how to deal with this kid. I'll listen to your arrangements. In front of Su Chen, Pang Yuan was no longer as cold and arrogant as before. Instead, he looked like a dog. Everyone present was shocked and looked at Su Chen. One by one, they were frantically guessing Su Chen's identity in their hearts. How could they know that the reason why Pang Yuan was so afraid of Su Chen was not Su Chen's identity at all, but his strength? Ning Bufan's grandfather Ning Lide was a business giant and very powerful. However, Pang Yuan had Jinglin Villa behind him, and was not afraid of him at all. If there was no conflict, he would just give him a face. But Su Chen was different. Jinglin Villa was nothing in his eyes. Su Chen had killed many masters of Jinglin Villa alone. And today, he even killed the Nanzun of Jinglin Villa. Pang Qiuan had already made up his mind that, as long as the owner of Jinglin Villa did not take action himself, he would definitely behave like a dog when he saw Su Chen in the future. That's why Pang Qiuan was so flattering to Su Chen. Su Chen glanced at Pang Qiuan indifferently, then turned to look at Yu Zinayu. Zinayu, how do you think you should deal with this Ning Bufan? Should you kill him? Hearing this, Ning Bufan, who was lying on the ground, trembled all over. Everyone around was also shocked. This guy is too murderous. No need. Yu Zinayu also waved her hands quickly. This is enough for now. Just now I asked the Tajiang elders to find you. In the future, Ning Bufan will never have a chance to approach me again. Hearing this, Ning Bufan, who was lying on the ground, breathed a sigh of relief, and Su Chen nodded. He said indifferently, break this guy's legs, and teach him a lesson. Ning Bufan's face suddenly changed. However, before he could beg for mercy, Pang Qiuan asked his men to do it. Snap, snap, to crisp bone-breaking sounds. Ah! Ning Bufan's screams echoed in the box. Su Chen snorted coldly, so noisy. As he spoke, he raised his hand. In an instant, 2 streams of energy hit Ning Bufan in succession. It was the Shiangxin finger. Just now, after Su Chen killed Kan Pinghe, he simply flipped through it. Now he tried it casually, relying on the foundation of the Vajra finger. He succeeded in one go. Puff, puff. Ning Bufan's 2 acupoints were pressed, and he lost his voice instantly. His face was full of pain, and he opened his mouth hard, but no sound came out. For a moment, Ning Bufan's face was full of horror. Yu Zinayu's classmates in the box were stunned, and Pang Qiuan's heart was even more like a sea of overturned. He recognized that this was Kan Pinghe's Shiangxin finger, but he didn't expect Su Chen to master it so quickly. Yu Zinayu was also shocked, and her eyes widened. This Ning Bufan, he... Su Chen smiled. I just thought his screams were unpleasant, so I pressed his mute point and made him unable to speak for a long time. Yu Zinayu suddenly realized. Ning Bufan was also relieved. At least it was only for half a day. However, he didn't know that Su Chen pressed 2 acupoints on him, not both of which were mute points. One of them was a mute point that made him temporarily unable to speak, and the other one made him lose his rights as a man forever. Su Chen looked at Yu Zinayu and asked with a smile, shall we go now? Yu Zinayu nodded. She apologized to the classmates. Dear classmates, I'm really sorry that this happened. I'll go back first. If you are affected by this matter later, you can contact me, and I will help you solve it. After saying this, the classmates were immediately ecstatic. They were worried that Ning Bufan would retaliate because of what happened today. Although the probability is very small, they are still a little uneasy. But Yu Zinayu's words immediately made them feel much more at ease. Thank you Zinayu. Zinayu is beautiful and kind. I just happen to have something to do at home, so I have to leave too. Yes. I'm leaving first too. Then, a group of people thanked Yu Zinayu and ran away. In an instant, only Su Chen, Yu Zinayu, Feng Yuanji, Pang Qiuan and Ning Bufan were left in the whole box. Let's go too. Su Chen stood up and left with Yu Zinayu. Feng Yuanji stood at the door with a swollen face, looking at Su Chen and Yu Zinayu with a complicated heart. Now, he understood. The school beauty he had always coveted was the younger sister of Yu Fulei, a business tycoon and an unattainable goddess. And Su Chen, whom he looked down on, was not a barefoot doctor at all, but a master that even Pang Qiuan had to kneel to. Thinking of this, Feng Yuanji hated himself even more for his bad attitude towards Su Chen before. If he had tried to please Su Chen, could he now use Su Chen to climb higher in Shanshu Garden? Zinayu, Mr. Su, are you leaving? How about I see you off? Feng Yuanji spoke quickly, seeming to be very familiar with the two. Sure enough, Pang Qiuan looked at Feng Yuanji with some curiosity. Su Chen chuckled. He naturally understood that Feng Yuanji wanted to use his power to gain some benefits for himself. Don't be like this, we are not that familiar. Besides, haven't you always been arrogant? I like you in that state. You'd better recover. After saying that, Su Chen and Yu Zhenai walked away. Pang Qiuan understood. He glared at Feng Yuanji fiercely, then quickly followed Su Chen and the others. Feng Yuanji stood there. His face had become bitter. He knew that he was finished. Pang Qiuan saw the Tuan Jiang and Jiang Dao off to the car, before turning around and leaving. The car started slowly. Yu Zhenai looked at Su Chen and thanked him. Su Chen, thank you for saving me again. Su Chen smiled. Why are you being so polite to me? If you hadn't sent the 2 Jiang masters to find me, you wouldn't be in danger. In the future, if anything happens, try to keep a master by your side. Yu Zhenai nodded. Yes, I remember. Then, Yu Zhenai asked, Su Chen, where are you going? I'll take you there. Su Chen said, no need to be so troublesome. I'll get off at your Fuelin hotel and then walk back. Yu Zhenai didn't insist. After arriving, Su Chen said goodbye to Yu Zhenai and turned to leave. Ding-ling-ling. He hadn't walked far when his cell phone rang. The person who called was Tan Yangshan. The call was connected. Tan Yangshan said anxiously, Mr. Su, I have rescued Chen Shuxing, but he is seriously injured now. Please save him. Su Chen was startled and asked, didn't I ask you to wait for me to rescue him together? Tan Yangshan was a little embarrassed. After I got the address you gave me, I rushed over to have a look. Seeing that the defense there was not strict, I thought about not bothering you anymore, so. Su Chen nodded. It seems that Tan Yangshan has a good relationship with this Chen Shuxing. Otherwise, Tan Yangshan would not be able to wait for even an hour or two. Okay, wait for me to get over there. After that, Su Chen hung up the phone. Boom. There was a loud sound of wind and thunder. Su Chen's figure disappeared quickly. The next chapter will be after 1:30. Let's go to bed first. Chapter 595 Heart-Eating Insect. Boom. Accompanied by the sound of wind and thunder, Su Chen's figure appeared in Sun Zhaoxiang's villa. Mr. Su. Mr. Su, you are here. Everyone stood up and greeted Su Chen in surprise. Su Chen smiled. In the hall of the villa, in addition to Sun Zhaoxiang, Zhu Qinglian, Tan Yangshan and Tan Xiang, there was also an unconscious old man. Judging from his age, the old man was about 60 years old. He looked quite majestic, but he was covered in blood and was dying. It seemed that he had suffered a torture. Su Chen immediately understood that this man should be Tan Yangshan's sworn brother, Chen Shuxing. Tan Yangshan came forward with a look of embarrassment on his face. Mr. Su, I'm sorry. After I got the address from you, I couldn't help it, so I went to look for him. As a result, I found that Chen Shuxing was tortured beyond recognition by those bastards. I couldn't help it, so I rescued him alone. Su Chen smiled and said, it's okay, as long as you are fine. Seeing that Su Chen didn't blame him, Tan Yangshan was relieved. He said, when I went there, I found that there were only some dark force martial artists and mysterious force masters, and they didn't cause me any trouble. I guess the people in Jinglin Villa didn't expect that someone would dare to rush over to save Chen Shuxing. Su Chen nodded. He asked, how is Mr. Chen now? Tan Yangshan's face changed slightly. He quickly clasped his fists and bowed. Very bad. Mr. Su, please, save Chen Shuxing. As long as you can save him, I will agree to anything you say. As he spoke, Tan Yangshan was about to kneel down in front of Su Chen. Judging from this posture, the relationship between the two is indeed very good. Su Chen lifted up Tan Yangshan and said with a smile, no need to do that. Let me go see him. After that, Su Chen walked towards Chen Shuxing. But Su Chen's mental power probed out. Almost instantly, he assumed that he had determined Chen Shuxing's problem. Su Chen frowned slightly. Tan Yangshan's heart tightened. He hurriedly asked, Mr. Su, what's the matter? Is it very tricky? Su Chen shook his head slightly. Not really tricky. Then why are you frowning? Tan Yangshan asked. Su Chen sighed and said, I just sigh that Jinglin Villa is really cruel. They are too vicious to the masters who escaped from Jinglin Villa, and they even used heart-eating insects. Tan Yangshan heard this, and suddenly his face turned pale. On the side, Tan Xiang asked curiously, Mr. Su, what is a heart-eating worm? Su Chen explained, the heart-eating worm is a poisonous worm. Once this poisonous worm enters the body, it will feed on the human heart, and keep eating away at the human heart. Moreover, this poisonous worm will also release a toxin that will not kill people immediately, but will continue to suffer from the pain of heart eating day and night. That kind of pain is more painful than cutting meat with a knife. The key is that it continues all the time. Hearing Su Chen's explanation, Tan Xiang and Zhu Qinglian turned pale. Even Sun Zhaoxing, the underground leader, was a little trembling. This thing is really scary. Anyone who knows that there is a worm in his body that is eating his heart bit by bit will probably have a mental breakdown. Tan Yangshan's eyes were red. Mr. Su, please, save him. Su Chen nodded and said, don't worry, leave it to me. But I'm going to find a separate room to treat him. On the side, Sun Zhaoxing hurriedly said, there is an empty room on the second floor. Mr. Su, you can go there. Yes. Su Chen nodded. Then, Sun Zhaoxing led the way. Tan Yangshan picked up Chen Shuxing and went upstairs with Su Chen. There was nothing in this room on the second floor except a bed. However, Su Chen didn't need anything. Mr. Su, I'll trouble you for everything. Tan Yangshan clasped his fists to Su Chen again, then looked at Chen Shuxing before turning around and leaving. The door closed. Su Chen untied Chen Shuxing's clothes on his chest. Blood-red scars appeared in front of Su Chen. These scars seemed to be caused by a whip with barbs, and blood scabs had already formed, like ugly centipedes. Su Chen's eyes were cold, and he felt even more disgusted with Jinglin Villa. He reached out and took out a spiritual medicine. It was the Bodhi Lotus. Before, when he captured Jiang Yuan, he had picked 5 petals and fed them to Gao Penfei, Pei Zhenchang and others. But there were still a lot of Bodhi Lotus left. Su Chen placed the Bodhi Lotus on Chen Shuxing's chest. Not long after, a small bulge suddenly appeared on Chen Shuxing's chest skin. Su Chen's eyes lit up. The next second, puff, the skin cracked, and a slender worm crawled out of Chen Shuxing's body with blood. It was the heart-devouring bug. After the heart-devouring bug came out, it crawled straight towards the Bodhi Lotus. At this time, Su Chen made a lightning move, directly picked up the heart-devouring bug, and dropped it to the ground, and then pointed it out with one finger. Xiangxin finger. Puff. The heart-devouring bug burst instantly. Su Chen put away the Bodhi Lotus, and then pierced Chen Shuxing with the 9 extreme life-transforming needle, preparing to treat him with the longevity vitality. The first floor of the villa. Tan Yangshan walked around the hall with a worried look on his face. Sun Zhaoxing advised, Mr. Tan, don't worry. Are you still unsure about Mr. Su's medical skills? Tan Yangshan smiled awkwardly and said, of course, I have great faith in Mr. Su's medical skills. But, I have some other worries. What worries? Sun Zhaoxing asked. Tan Yangshan sighed and said, I brought Chen Shuxing out of Jinglin Villa, and injured many people from Jinglin Villa. I guess they won't let us go. Sun Zhaoxing was stunned when he heard this. He was also separated from Jinglin Villa, so he naturally knew how powerful and cruel Jinglin Villa was. We have no choice but to rely on Mr. Su. Sun Zhaoxing sighed. Tan Yangshan nodded. At this moment, a sneer sounded. It's useless for you to rely on anyone. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. The sound of wind sounded, and 3 figures suddenly appeared in the villa garden. Sun Zhaoxing and Tan Yangshan's faces changed. The two hurried to the door and looked outside. They saw that there were 3 men coming. The leader was over 70 years old and had a goatee. He was full of vitality and had a strong sense of oppression. The other 2 were over 50 years old and also had the strength of the early Xianshan realm. Seeing the 3 people, Tan Yangshan's face changed drastically. Baking Gaiu. When Sun Zhaoxing heard this name, his pupils suddenly shrank. This person was the Northern Venerable of Jinglin Villa. Baking Gaiu looked at Tan Yangshan and Sun Zhaoxing with cold eyes, as if he was looking at a dead person. TSK. He sneered. I didn't expect that you 2 traitors would get together. Sun Zhaoxing's face was ugly. Indeed, he was also a traitor of Jinglin Villa. Baking Gaiu just glanced at Sun Zhaoxing and ignored him. He was just an underground leader. In the eyes of ordinary people, he was a big shot, but he didn't care. Baking Gaiu stared at Tan Yangshan and said coldly, Tan Yangshan, you are so bold. My Jinglin Villa treats you well, but you betrayed the villa. This is already a capital crime. Now, you are so bold that you helped Chen Shuxing to defect. I think you are tired of living. Will you kneel down and beg for mercy and go back with me obediently, or let me kill you and carry your body back? You choose. Tan Yangshan gritted his teeth and said, I don't choose either one. Jinglan Villa fed my daughter the Changmeng lotus seeds and secretly fed me the blood seed. Baking Gaiu, you still have the nerve to say that you treat me well. Bah. You are so shameless. Baking Gaiu's face was ugly. Okay, you are looking for death. Go. Catch him for me. As soon as the voice fell, 2 masters of the Xianshan realm under Baking Gaiu's men rushed up directly. Tan Yangshan and others were immediately shocked. Let's stop here for today. I'm so sleepy. I failed to adjust my work and rest schedule. I will try to finish it as early as possible tomorrow. Chapter 596. Extreme Ice Energy. The 2 Xianshan masters rushed forward. You guys step back. Tan Yangshan warned, and then he stepped forward. Behind him, Tan Xiang, Sun Zhaoxian and Zhu Qinglian looked worried, but they still stepped back obediently. They knew that they could not help much. The 2 Xianshan masters, as soon as they attacked, were killing moves. One on the left, and one on the right, attacking at the same time. However, Tan Yangshan was calm and steady. He knew that he didn't need to defeat these 2 people at all. His task was to delay time. As long as he could delay until Su Chen finished treating Chen Shuxing, he would definitely be safe. After making up his mind, Tan Yangshan stood still and set up the driving 100 revolving silk power. Tan Yangshan stepped on the gang step and his vitality was shaking. Facing the attack from the 2 masters, he took it steadily and then resolved it. Bang, bang. The attacks of the 2 masters were taken by Tan Yangshan, and then the power was resolved. The 2 people's faces changed slightly, and then they attacked again and again. But Tan Yangshan was not impatient, and continued to defend. The attacks of the 2 great masters, the vitality attacked one after another, like a violent storm. But Tan Yangshan stayed in place, using static to control dynamic, and struck back. Sometimes, he could even guide the strength of the 2 to attack each other. Seeing this scene, Tan Xiang and others were relieved. On the opposite side, Baking Gaiu's face turned black. He cursed in a low voice. Waste. The 2 great masters' faces changed slightly, and their men attacked more anxiously. The 2 rushed to attack step by step, but Tan Yangshan seized the floor and directly used the force to shake them away. Thump thump thump. They retreated one after another, and retreated directly in front of Baking Gaiu. The 2 people's faces turned black, and they were about to rush forward again. At this time, Baking Gaiu shouted in a low voice, enough. 2 wastes. The 2 great masters looked embarrassed, clasped their fists, and bowed their heads and said, I'm sorry, Northern Venerable, we didn't expect that he would be so powerful. Humph. Baking Gaiu snorted coldly, and ignored the 2. He walked forward, and stared at Tan Yangshan. Tan Yangshan, I've heard before that your 100 circular entanglement power can use force to unload force. Today, I'll come and learn from you. As soon as the words fell, Baking Gaiu stomped his foot on the ground. Bang. The floor tiles instantly turned into shattered foam. Baking Gaiu's figure suddenly appeared in front of Tan Yangshan. Then, he punched hard. The violent vitality almost made Tan Yangshan's skin feel stinging. Tan Yangshan's face changed. Such an attack proves that Baking Gaiu is already a master at the peak of the Xianshan realm. 100 circular entanglement power. Tan Yangshan gritted his teeth, and the vitality of his body trembled around him again. He raised his hands, and raised fire to burn the sky, to resist Baking Gaiu's punch. Bang. Baking Gaiu's punch hit Tan Yangshan's arms hard. Hiss. Tan Yangshan slid back suddenly. On the ground, a deep mark was left by sliding. Fortunately, Tan Yangshan had already used the 100 circling strength to dissipate most of the force. Therefore, he was not too injured. Baking Gaiu's punch did not work, and his face changed slightly. His figure flashed, and he pressed forward again. Punch after punch. Tan Yangshan concentrated his energy, and resisted with all his strength. Bang, bang, bang. Although Baking Gaiu was very powerful, fortunately, Tan Yangshan only needed to resist with all his strength, and could barely block it. Although Tan Yangshan was exhausted by several consecutive moves, he did not take him down after all. This made Baking Gaiu's face a little embarrassed. The game is over. Try my trick again, the extremely icy energy. As soon as the voice fell, the temperature in the villa garden dropped suddenly, and around baking Gaiu, ice flowers formed one after another. He struck out with a palm. The violent energy, with a bone-chilling chill, enveloped Tan Yangshan. Tan Yangshan's energy was just ordinary energy. He could only reluctantly continue to use the 100 circling strength to deal with it. Baking Gaiu sneered, and struck out again. Soon, Tan Yangshan's body was covered with frost debris. His movements became slower and slower, and he could not resist Baking Gaiu's attack. Sure enough, the next second, Baking Gaiu took advantage of Tan Yangshan's slow movements, and directly hit him in the chest with a palm. Bang! Puff! Tan Yangshan spurted out a mouthful of blood, and the whole person was thrown out, and hit hard at the door of the villa hall. Dad! Mr. Tan! Mr. Tan! Tan Xiang, Sun Zhaoxian and Zhu Qinglian rushed to Tan Yangshan. At this time, Tan Yangshan looked like he had been frozen in a refrigerator, with a layer of fine ice particles on his body. The whole person was still shivering. Dad! Tan Xiang was so scared that tears flowed. Sun Zhaoxian and Zhu Qinglian were also very anxious. On the opposite side, Baking Gaiu saw Tan Xiang crying, and his eyes suddenly lit up. Looking at Zhu Qinglian again, a wicked smile appeared on his face. I didn't expect that. There are two beauties here. One is young and beautiful, the other is mature and charming. Both are my favorites. Not bad. It seems that I'm very lucky today. A hint of lust appeared on Baking Gaiu's face. He waved his hand and said, you two losers, go and take these two women down for me. I will take them back later, and enjoy them slowly. Yes, the two masters said, and then rushed directly to Tan Xiang and Zhu Qinglian. The two women were immediately frightened. Sun Zhaoxian's face changed, and he stretched out his arms to block in front of him. What do you want to do? Get out! A master shouted angrily, and then slapped Sun Zhaoxian with a palm. The vitality was majestic, like a huge mountain collapsing. Sun Zhaoxian was so scared that he closed his eyes, his face showing despair. This time, he was dead. The next second, bang, bang, two loud noises exploded. Sun Zhaoxian was stunned, but found that he was fine. He slowly opened his eyes. I saw a tall figure appear in front of him. It was Su Chen. The two masters had already flown back, and fell in front of Baking Gaiu. Mr. Su. Sun Zhaoxian's face showed ecstasy. The joy of being reborn almost made him cry. He thought he was going to die. Tan Xiang and Zhu Qinglian were also excited. Sorry, I couldn't interrupt the treatment just now, so I came down a little late. Su Chen apologized. Chen Shuxing's heart had been eaten by the heart-eating worm. Su Chen killed the heart-eating worm, and had to use the longevity energy to help him repair his heart immediately. Therefore, he was delayed for a while. It's okay, it's okay. Sun Zhaoxian waved his hands repeatedly. Mr. Su, you came too timely. It's just that Mr. Tan. Su Chen looked at Tan Yangshan, and raised his eyebrows. Extreme ice energy. Tan Xiang's eyes were filled with tears. Su Chen, my dad. Su Chen comforted. Don't worry, I'm here. Mr. Tan will be fine. Hearing this, Tan Xiang was relieved. At this moment, a cold shout came over. Little bastard, do you think too highly of yourself? Su Chen turned around slowly. Baking Gaiu's face was gloomy. Chapter 597, Frozen World. Su Chen looked at Baking Gaiu, and asked in a cold voice, who are you? Baking Gaiu had a cold and arrogant look on his face. Jinglan Villa, Northern Venerable Baking Gaiu. After saying this, Baking Gaiu looked at Su Chen, wanting to see his expression change. However, to his disappointment, Su Chen acted as if he had never heard of it. Then you are here to hunt down Chen Shuxing, right? Su Chen asked. Baking Gaiu nodded. Yes. Who are you? My name is Su Chen. Su Chen said indifferently. Hearing this, Baking Gaiu was stunned. Are you the Su Chen who killed Zhao Zhenling and Wu Kuangsha? Su Chen nodded. I killed those two people. I will protect Chen Shuxing. You can go now. Baking Gaiu was stunned. He laughed in anger. Ha ha ha. Su Chen, you are so arrogant. You don't think that if you can kill two Yuan Qi masters, you can make Jinglan Villa give in to you, right? Su Chen shook his head. Not only the two of them, but also Lu Qianli and your southern venerable Qian Pinghe. I advise you not to mess with me. Baking Gaiu shouted angrily. Bullshit. Just you? Go, take this kid down. Although Baking Guy cursed, he was very cautious. He didn't do it himself, but asked his two masters to come forward to test Su Chen's combat effectiveness. The two masters were furious just now, although they were beaten by Su Chen. But the two did not think that Su Chen was stronger than them, but suddenly came out of the villa and caught them off guard. This time, the two wanted to wash away the shame. Whoosh, whoosh, the two figures flashed and were next to Su Chen in the blink of an eye. Go to hell. The two attacked together and attacked Su Chen head on. Su Chen smiled coldly. In his eyes, the two Grand Masters who were only in the early stage of the Xiantian realm were like children. Su Chen struck out with one palm. The terrifying vitality was like a surging wave. The vitality of the two Grand Masters was instantly destroyed. Boom. The two were thrown out directly, hit the wall hard, and were buried in the rubble of the wall, no longer having any life. Baking Guy's face changed. You are so young, why is your vitality so strong? Su Chen sneered. You can't learn talent. Arrogant. You are looking for death. Baking Guy was furious and rushed towards Su Chen. Extreme ice vitality. A vitality like white frost, with a biting cold, enveloped Su Chen. Su Chen sneered and raised his hand to hit. Flame vitality. The next second, the flame vitality, with purple sparks, enveloped the extreme ice vitality. Kai Kai. In an instant, a large area of white mist was steaming. The bone-chilling coldness disappeared in an instant, replaced by a scorching heat. Boom. Baking Guy was directly blown away. He looked at Su Chen with a look of surprise. Son of a bitch, why is your vitality so high? Baking Guy's face looked very bad. If it was ordinary fire-attributed vitality, it would be difficult to suppress his extreme ice vitality. However, Su Chen's flame vitality almost ignited him. Talent, you can't learn it. Su Chen showed a mocking expression. Su Chen's flame vitality has 5 levels of changes. The colors of the flames are white, yellow, red, purple, and black. But now, the color of the flame on Su Chen's flame vitality is only the 4th level. If Su Chen can use black flames, he may be able to directly burn Baking Guy's vitality and counterattack himself. Baking Guy's face looked ugly. Stinky boy. Don't think that you can beat me just because you have a high quality vitality. Try this trick again. Freeze the world. Baking Guy's feet flashed quickly and rushed straight to Su Chen. His whole body was full of vitality and it seemed to condense into a ball on the surface of his body. Palm after palm, the terrifying vitality was like free money, hitting Su Chen. Su Chen countered the moves. The surrounding ground, however, quickly condensed into ice. Ice. Baking Guy shouted. In an instant, his whole body of vitality was madly pouring out, and it rushed out in an instant. Before Su Chen could react, the air around him condensed instantly. In the blink of an eye, thick ice condensed on Su Chen's body surface instantly. It looked as if Su Chen was frozen in a giant ice. Mr. Su. Tan Xiang's face changed. Zhu Qinglian also showed an anxious look. It's over. Mr. Su has become an ice sculpture. Baking Guy staggered, looking tired. His move Freeze the World is his killer move. In an instant, he can release all the extremely icy vitality and freeze the enemy completely. Although it consumes a lot of energy, the effect is naturally very strong. With such a consumption, even a strong man at the peak of the innate realm would be caught off guard. If you are not a land immortal, it will be extremely difficult to break free. Ha ha ha. Aren't you dead now? Two beauties, no one will disturb us now. Ha ha ha. Baking Guy looked at Tan Xiang and Zhu Qing's face with a smug look. Tan Xiang and the other two suddenly changed their faces. However, Baking Guy's voice had just fallen. Crack. A crisp sound suddenly came out. The smile on Baking Guy's face froze instantly. He slowly turned his head and looked at the small iceberg. I saw a crack slowly appearing, and then it became bigger and bigger. Finally, crack. It split into 2 petals. Su Chen appeared in front of Baking Guy with a sneer on his face. Mr. Su. Tan Xiang cried with joy. Sun Zhaoxian and his wife also jumped up excitedly. Su Chen looked at Baking Guy coldly and said lightly, it's a very good technique. It can really save a lot of air conditioning fees if used to cool down in the summer. Baking Guy's face changed wildly. Without saying a word, he turned around and ran. Just now, in order to use the ice world, he had exhausted all his vitality. However, it was of no use to Su Chen. He didn't know how Su Chen broke free from the ice, and he didn't want to know. Now Baking Gayu just wanted to escape with his life. However, his idea was destined to be just a luxury. Su Chen raised his hand, heavenly heart finger. A stream of vitality instantly hit Baking Guyu's acupuncture points. Bang! Baking Guyu's whole body stiffened, as if he was shot, and fell straight to the ground. He had completely lost the ability to move. Mr. Su, Tan Xiang and the other two were overjoyed, and quickly surrounded him. Su Chen smiled. Don't worry, I'm fine. Treat Mr. Tan first. He ignored Baking Gayu, and walked to Tan Yangshan. At this time, Tan Yangshan was covered with frost. However, Su Chen did not find it difficult, because his flame energy was just right for this situation. Soon, Su Chen used silver needles and flame energy to wake Tan Yangshan up. Tan Yangshan was excited. Thank you, Mr. Su. Su Chen smiled. You're welcome. Then, he slowly turned around and walked towards Baking Gayu, who was lying on the ground. At this time, Baking Guyu's face was full of horror. He had recognized that what Su Chen had just used on him was the Shiangxin finger. The unique Shiangxin finger of Qian Pinghe, the southern venerable of Jinglin Villa. The next chapter will be around 2 o'clock. Let's go to bed first. Many friends and neighbors around me have passed away, so everyone should pay attention to protection. Chapter 598, Recruiting a Grandmaster. Baking Gayu fell to the ground, looking at Su Chen in horror. Su Chen raised his hand, and a stream of energy shot out from the Shiangxin finger. Puff. Baking Gayu immediately resumed his actions. He looked horrified. You used Qian Pinghe's Shiangxin finger. I just told you that I also killed Lu Qianli and Qian Pinghe. Unfortunately, you didn't believe it at all. Su Chen said indifferently. Boom. Su Chen's words were like a thunder, exploding in Baking Guyu's ears. He stared at Su Chen. How dare you kill him? He is the Nanzan of our Jinglin Villa. If you kill him, you are provoking our Jinglin Villa. Su Chen looked indifferent. So what if it's a provocation? Baking Gayu paused. Su Chen continued. I saved Tan Yangshan, killed Jiao Zhenling, killed Wu Kuangsha, beat Pang Qiuan and his son, robbed Wang He Tower, saved Sun Zhaoxing, killed Lu Qianli, and just saved Chen Shuxing. Su Chen counted them one by one, and said calmly, speaking of which, it's not the first or second time that I have provoked your Jinglin Villa. Baking Guyu's face turned black. This Su Chen doesn't take Jinglin Villa seriously at all. He said angrily, Su Chen, you're dead. The owner of our Jinglin Villa is a land immortal. Unless you kneel down now and join our Jinglin Villa, otherwise, you will definitely die. Su Chen chuckled. That Qian Pinghe said the same thing to you before he died. Baking Guyu's face changed. You want to kill me? What else? Su Chen smiled coldly and raised his hand. The terrifying vitality condensed instantly. Baking Gayu panicked immediately. This Su Chen is a lunatic. If he had killed Qian Pinghe, how could he be spared? Bang. Baking Gayu knelt on the ground and begged for mercy frantically. Mr. Su, I was wrong. Please, let me go. I will not pursue the matter of Tan Yangshan, Sun Zhaoxing and Chen Shuxing anymore. If the owner of the manor asks about it in the future, I will also help you cover up everything. Please spare my life. Bang, bang, bang. At this moment, Baking Gayu gave up all his fantasies and kowtowed frantically for mercy. Now that his vitality was exhausted, facing the evil star Su Chen, there was only one way. However, in response to him, it was a Shiangxin finger. Puff. Baking Gayu lowered his head and looked at the bloody hole in his chest, his face full of disbelief. He never thought that he would pay the price of his life just to chase a rescued Chen Shuxing. You. Baking Gayu fell to the ground before he finished his sentence. Mr. Su, did you kill Baking Gayu? Tan Yangshan was shocked. Su Chen smiled. You don't think he would thank me if I let him go, do you? Rather than letting him go and waiting for him to take the people from Jinglin Villa to deal with me, it's better to kill him directly. Tan Yangshan was stunned. Alas. He sighed and said with some guilt, I'm sorry, Mr. Su, I've caused you trouble again. Jinglin Villa is very powerful. I'm afraid they will come to you for revenge later. Su Chen waved his hand. It has nothing to do with you. You don't need to blame yourself. Before, I had already made enemies with Jinglin Villa. Even if it weren't for you, they might not have been on good terms with me. Tan Yangshan nodded and didn't mention it again. By the way, Tan Yangshan asked, Mr. Su, how is Chen Chuxing? Su Chen smiled. Look for yourself. As he spoke, he pointed behind everyone. Tan Yangshan and others turned their heads. Then, they saw Chen Chuxing coming down from the second floor of the villa. Although Chen Chuxing's face was still a little pale, he was able to move freely. Brother Chen. Tan Yangshan was surprised and ran into the hall of the villa to greet him. Brother Tan. Chen Chuxing was also a little excited, and the two hugged each other tightly. Su Chen and others also followed into the hall, and they burst into tears when they saw the two old men. Then, Tan Yangshan brought Chen Chuxing to Su Chen. Old Chen, it was Mr. Su who cured you. Tan Yangshan introduced. Chen Chuxing was shocked. He didn't expect that such a young Su Chen was actually a miracle doctor. However, he still clasped his hands and bowed to Su Chen. Mr. Su, thank you for saving my life. The old man will never forget it. Su Chen bowed politely. Mr. Chen is polite. You are Mr. Tan's sworn brother. This is what I should do. In addition, I have helped you take out the heart-eating worm in your body. It won't be a big problem in the future. Suddenly, Chen Chuxing was stunned, and his face was full of excitement. Really? Mr. Su, thank you so much. Chen Chuxing bowed deeply to Su Chen again. Su Chen quickly helped him up. Chen Chuxing hesitated and said, Mr. Su, although you saved me, I can't repay you for the time being. The people from Jinglin Villa will definitely hunt me down, and I can't cause trouble for you all. At this time, Tan Jinglin laughed out loud. Haha. Old Chen, don't worry. Since Mr. Su has decided to protect you, you don't have to worry about being hunted down by Jinglin Villa. Chen Chuxing shook his head and said, Brother Tan, when you saved me, the northern venerable Beijing guy was not there. But when he returns, he will definitely come looking for me. Hearing this, a smile suddenly appeared on Su Chen's face. Zhu Qingdian and Tan Xiang also smiled with their lips pursed. Ha ha ha. Tan Yangshan laughed non-stop. Chen Chuxing looked puzzled. Brother Tan, what are you laughing at? Tan Yangshan smiled. Brother, come out with me and see what this is. As he spoke, Tan Yangshan took Chen Chuxing out of the villa hall. When Chen Chuxing saw Baking Guyu's body on the ground, he was stunned on the spot. Brother Tan, did you kill Baking Guyu? Chen Chuxing looked incredulous. Tan Yangshan smiled bitterly and shook his head. I don't have such a great ability. It was Mr. Su. There are two masters' bodies in the pile of bricks over there. Chen Chuxing was instantly numb. Mr. Su, what is his cultivation level? Tan Yangshan smiled and said, I don't know Mr. Su's cultivation level, but I'm not his opponent anyway. In addition, the Bei family, who has a divine realm, can't do anything to Mr. Su. Mr. Su said he would protect you, so there will be no problem. Chen Chuxing's face suddenly showed joy. He then turned around and walked to Su Chen. Bang! Chen Chuxing knelt down directly. Thank you, Mr. Su, for saving my life. In the future, my life, Chen Chuxing, will belong to you, Mr. Su, but I will never refuse if you have any orders. Su Chen hurriedly helped Chen Chuxing up. Mr. Chen, don't be so polite. Then, Sun Zhaoxian arranged his men to collect the bodies of Baking Guyu and the two masters. Su Chen was kept by the others and had a meal together. Chen Chuxing and Tan Yangshan were grateful and kept toasting to Su Chen. Su Chen did not spoil their fun and accepted all the guests. The others talked and laughed. Su Chen also made a prescription for Chen Chuxing and Tan Yangshan to help them regulate their bodies. Finally, when Su Chen arrived at Tang Sheng's house, it was already quite late. He quietly opened the door without turning on the light and was about to walk in the dark. Click. The light in the room suddenly lit up. I will try my best to write the next chapter around 3:30. If I can't stand it anymore, I will go to bed. Chapter 599, Unexpected Discovery. Zhou Wanqiu walked out of the bedroom and looked straight at Su Chen. She looked sleepy and angrily said, Su Chen, why did you come back just now? You have to go out with me tomorrow. Did you forget? Su Chen smiled awkwardly. No, I just happen to have something to do tonight. Huh. Zhou Wanqiu rolled her eyes. You have something to do every day, and I don't know what you can have. Su Chen smiled, and didn't explain too much. If he told Zhou Wanqiu about Jinglin Villa, she would probably worry again. Zhou Wanqiu asked, have you eaten? Su Chen was startled and looked at Zhou Wanqiu. Zhou Wanqiu looked a little flustered when Su Chen looked at her. Why are you looking at me? I'm not concerned about you. She hurriedly explained. In the refrigerator, there are dumplings I ordered for to eat from the same store last time. If you don't eat them, I'm going to throw them away. Zhou Wanqiu said indifferently. Su Chen looked at Zhou Wanqiu and pretended to be surprised. Really? I just didn't eat anything. I like the dumplings from that restaurant. I'll heat them up now. As he spoke, Su Chen turned and walked towards the kitchen. Zhou Wanqiu turned and went back to her room. A smile appeared on her face. Su Chen turned around and looked at the kitchen. In the Zhou family in Bincheng, Zhou Wanqiu's mother usually cooked. Zhou Wanqiu never cleaned up at all, so there were naturally many omissions. Sure enough, Su Chen found some residual white flour on the ground and near the trash can. Obviously, these dumplings were made by Zhou Wanqiu himself. Su Chen touched his full stomach, gritted his teeth, heated up the dumplings again, and ate them all. Finally, he washed the dishes and put them away, then went back to the room to get clothes to take a shower. Is it delicious? Zhou Wanqiu asked seemingly unintentionally. Su Chen smiled secretly in his heart, but said, it's delicious. It's just that the dumpling filling is a little salty today, but it's still delicious. Zhou Wanqiu said with a straight face. Yeah, I think so too. I'll make a note to the boss later. Yeah. Su Chen nodded. Thank you. Zhou Wanqiu was stunned and then said in a panic, why are you thanking me? I didn't make them for you. Su Chen said, I know it wasn't you who made them. I just want to thank you for leaving these dumplings for me so that I didn't go to bed hungry. Zhou Wanqiu blushed. I don't need your thanks. It's thrown away anyway. Hurry up and take a shower and rest. We'll leave tomorrow morning. Su Chen nodded, took his clothes, and went to take a shower. Soon, Su Chen finished washing up. Sitting on the floor, he took out the book Heaven's Heart Finger and read it carefully. Zhou Wanqiu looked at Su Chen curiously. What are you reading so seriously? Su Chen said with a smile. Kung Fu techniques. Martial arts secrets? Zhou Wanqiu's eyes widened. How old are you? You still believe this? She looked at Su Chen as if he was a middle school boy. Su Chen smiled. Okay. Zhou Wanqiu said helplessly. How long do you want to read? We still have to go out tomorrow. Su Chen said. Just turn off the lights. Zhou Wanqiu thought Su Chen had finished reading, so he turned off the lights. Su Chen, on the other hand, continued to read Heavenly Heart Finger carefully in the dark. With his eyesight, he could see it clearly. After today's simple attempt, Su Chen became more and more interested in the Heavenly Heart Finger. He found that, although the Heavenly Heart Finger was more complicated, if it was fully mastered, the power of the Heavenly Heart Finger was not inferior to the Great Power Vajra Finger. Moreover, it had more advantages in terms of firing speed, force control and application methods. It could even be applied in medicine. It just so happened that Su Chen had practiced the Vajra Finger before, and after studying it carefully for a night, he had basically mastered this finger technique. The next morning, Zhou Wanqiu got up early and quietly walked out of the room. Su Chen also slowly opened his eyes. Although he had practiced all night, he was still energetic. This is the benefit of a strong mental power. If he condenses the Yang God in the future, he will not be tired, even if he does not sleep for several days and nights. Su Chen got up and walked out the door, only to find that Zhou Wanqiu was frying eggs. Zhou Wanqiu was shocked when she saw Su Chen got up. Why did you get up? Zhou Wanqiu's tone was a little flustered, and she put the shovel in her hand behind her. Then, she seemed to realize something, and hurriedly took it out again. I'm going to my friend's house today. I don't know if I can get used to her family's food. So, I'm going to eat a little in advance. Do you want to eat? Zhou Wanqiu explained. Su Chen nodded. Okay. Thank you. I'll go wash up first. After that, Su Chen turned and left. A trace of annoyance flashed across Zhou Wanqiu's face, as if she felt that her performance just now was a bit bad. Soon, Su Chen finished washing up. Zhou Wanqiu had already prepared several breakfasts, including milk, fried eggs, bread, bacon, lettuce. Anyway, there were a lot of them on the table. Su Chen was very surprised. He looked at Zhou Wanqiu. I didn't realize that you really inherited a lot from Aunt Zhao. You can actually make so many things for one breakfast. Are you planning to stop being a president and change your career to being a good wife and mother? Zhou Wanqiu's face was hot when she heard this. She opened her beautiful eyes and said, "You talk too much nonsense. Do you want to eat?" I eat. Su Chen said hurriedly. Zhou Wanqiu glared at Su Chen and said unhappily, "You can't spit out ivory from a dog's mouth." Su Chen smiled and ate. Although Zhou Wanqiu made a lot of things, he was full after eating only a little. The rest of the things were naturally pushed to Su Chen. Su Chen was not very hungry, but seeing Zhou Wanqiu's expectant eyes, he could only bite the bullet and eat everything. Seeing this scene, Zhou Wanqiu also smiled, and Su Chen sighed secretly in his heart. He didn't know if Zhou Wanqiu had nothing to do after coming to the provincial capital, so he started to study cooking. It was just a pity for his stomach. Last night, he went home full. As a result, he ate another plate of dumplings after returning. This morning, his stomach hadn't digested it yet, and now he stuffed his stomach with breakfast. Su Chen secretly reminded himself that he should save some space when eating out in the future, in case he needs to have a snack when he gets home. After cleaning up the tableau, the two went downstairs immediately. Zhou Wanqiu drove Su Chen to the outside of the city. On the way, Zhou Wanqiu introduced Su Chen. The friend I'm going to see this time is one of my senior sisters. She was a year older than me in college. She took special care of me in the student union, and we became good friends. Her home is near the provincial capital. I took me to her home before. Later, after graduating from college, I returned to Bincheng and rarely came again. This time, she heard that I came to the provincial capital and insisted on asking me to go and play with her. It happened that the work of queening Entertainment City had not started yet, so I made an appointment with her to come today. Su Chen nodded. Then he asked, "You come to see your friend. If she asks about me, what identity should I say?" Zhou Wanqiu was stunned. This is indeed a problem. She hesitated, but said, "What do you think should I say?" Su Chen was slightly stunned. Then, he suddenly thought of the time when he was used as a shield by leaking iron. "Say, I'm your boyfriend?" Su Chen asked. The voice fell. Swish. Zhou Wanqiu's face instantly turned red. "Get lost." Zhou Wanqiu scolded. Su Chen pouted and muttered, "You were the one who asked me first." Zhou Wanqiu blushed immediately and scolded. "Then I didn't ask you to talk nonsense." "Okay. Then you can talk. Everything is arranged by President Zhao." Su Chen was too lazy to argue with her. Zhou Wanqiu thought about it and said, "Just say bodyguards." Su Chen naturally had no objection. Soon, the two drove all the way to the outskirts of the city. Although it is already a county town, because it is close to the provincial capital, there are many factories and parks here. It feels a bit like a rural-urban junction. Compared with ordinary towns and other places, this place is obviously more developed. Zhou Wanqiu followed the navigation and soon drove to a large courtyard. It seems that this large courtyard is the destination. The two found a place to park the car. "Ah, Wanqiu, you are here." A surprised voice came from the side. The two turned around and saw a young and beautiful girl walking out of the large courtyard next to them. Su Chen understood that this girl should be Zhou Wanqiu's senior sister. Suddenly, Su Chen's eyes showed a hint of surprise. He turned his head suddenly and looked at the house behind the girl. The fourth update is here. Good night everyone. Chapter 600, Unexpected Discovery. Sister Wenxun. Zhou Wanqiu also laughed and called out. Su Chen, on the other hand, looked at the courtyard behind Lin Wenxun with a sharp gaze. That was Lin Wenxun's home. But Su Chen was in it and felt a congenital yang energy. Su Chen's eyes showed a hint of excitement. At present, Su Chen's cultivation is roughly divided into three aspects. They are yuan qi, physical body, and mental power. In terms of yuan qi, Su Chen has accumulated a very rich amount and almost reached the peak of the innate realm. If he wants to improve further in the future, he can only rely on opportunities to cultivate other high quality yuan qi. As for the physical body, it is the most reliable place for Su Chen to improve at present, so he is looking for spiritual medicines for the physical body, wanting to improve the invincible golden body to the level that can resist the divine realm. The cultivation of mental power is the most difficult. Although Su Chen's yin god has been completed. But if you want to cultivate yang god, yin and yang are united to complete the yin and yang period. This depends more on fate. Because the innate yang energy is not so easy to encounter. Originally, Su Chen had determined his future direction of improvement, which was to improve his physical strength first, so that the power of the 9 extremes could be fully exerted. But now, he found an opportunity to cultivate his mental strength. On the side, Zhou Wanqiu turned around and saw Su Chen, who was staring at Lin Wengsuan intently, and suddenly felt a pang in her heart. She stretched her hand to Su Chen's waist and twisted it violently. Ah! Su Chen was twisted unexpectedly and almost cried out. He turned his head quickly, only to see Zhou Wanqiu glaring at him fiercely. She said in a low voice, "Have you never seen a beautiful woman? Your eyes are about to fly out." Su Chen was helpless. "I'm looking at the yard." Bullshit. Zhou Wanqiu glared at her again, then smiled and greeted Lin Wengsuan. The two girls hugged each other, then held hands and chatted. Su Chen was speechless and continued to look at Lin Wengsuan's house. Soon, Su Chen found that the yang energy was not very strong. However, he was not in a hurry. When he entered the Lin family, he would probably know the reason. Zhou Wanqiu and Lin Wengsuan held hands and chatted for a long time before they stopped. Lin Wengsuan looked at Su Chen and asked with a smile, "Wanqiu, who is this handsome guy? Is he your boyfriend?" Zhou Wanqiu quickly denied. "Sister Wengsuan, your eyesight is not good now. With his appearance, can he be considered a handsome guy? Haha. His name is Su Chen, and he is my bodyguard." Lin Wengsuan smiled and said, "He is very handsome." Su Chen heard this and secretly gave Lin Wengsuan a thumbs up in his heart. Sure enough, there are still people with good vision. Lin Wengsuan continued to ask, "Is he really not your boyfriend? I don't think he looks like a bodyguard." Zhou Wanqiu said proudly, "Really not. I don't like him." Lin Wengsuan smiled. She saw clearly that Zhou Wanqiu was driving just now, and Su Chen was sitting in the co-pilot seat. How can a bodyguard let the boss drive? Lin Wengsuan did not point it out, but whispered mischievously, "If he is not your boyfriend, how about I chase him and let him be your brother-in-law?" Zhou Wanqiu's face changed when she asked. She hurriedly said, "Ahem, Sister Zuan, you are still so fond of joking. That Su Chen seems to have a girlfriend. Why are we talking about him? What is there to talk about?" Lin Wengsuan looked at Zhou Wanqiu as if she saw through everything. Zhou Wanqiu's pretty face blushed slightly, and she quickly changed the subject. "By the way, Sister Zuan, I heard that my uncle is sick. What's the situation?" At this point, Lin Wengsuan put away her smile. She said, "Alas, I don't know what happened. My dad just suddenly became ill. The body has a fever from time to time, and the temperature can't be lowered at all. What medicine to take and the antipyretic injection are useless. But sometimes, it will inexplicably go down. Moreover, the body is getting worse and worse, and it rarely gets out of bed and walks." And at this point, Lin Wengsuan blushed, and it seemed a little difficult to speak. "I'll take you to see it." Zhou Wanqiu nodded and followed Su Chen. The two walked into the courtyard quickly. Su Chen looked around and found that it was a typical village courtyard. There was a 3-story building inside and a courtyard outside. The three walked towards the small building. As soon as they entered, a middle-aged woman came to greet them. "Aunt Zhang." Zhou Wanqiu called sweetly. This woman was Lin Wengsuan's mother, Zhang Hangshi. When Zhou Wanqiu was in college, she had come to Lin Wengsuan's house, so she knew Zhang Hangshi. Zhang Hangshi also smiled when she saw Zhou Wanqiu. "Wanqiu, you are here. Oh. I haven't seen you for 2 years. You seem to be more beautiful than before. Aunt, you look younger than before." Zhou Wanqiu showed a very well-behaved look. Su Chen sighed in his heart. Women are indeed born actors. I'm afraid that Zhang Hangxue and Lin Wengxuan could not imagine what Zhou Wanqiu, the good girl, would look like in front of them. Then, Zhang Hangxue also looked at Su Chen and asked, Wanqiu, is this your boyfriend? He's very handsome, a very good looking guy. Zhou Wanqiu blushed again and explained quickly, Aunt Zhang, his name is Su Chen, he's my assistant and bodyguard. He knows a little bit about medicine, and I just happened to hear that my uncle was ill, so I brought him here. Su Chen smiled and greeted. Zhang Hangxue smiled gratefully, so that's how it is. Let's go, I'll take you to see Liaolin. Then, Zhang Hangxue led a few people to a room next door. This is a bedroom. As soon as he entered the door, Su Chen smelled a faint smell of Chinese medicine. It seemed that Lin Wengxuan's father, Bincheng, had been treated many times. Several people came forward. Su Chen saw a man in his 60s, leaning against the back of the bed, and dozing off weakly. At this time, Su Chen's eyes lit up. He found that the innate yang energy he felt was radiating from Bincheng. Bincheng heard the noise and slowly opened his eyes. Zhang Hangxue hurried forward. Old Lin Wengxuan's friend Wanqiu is here to see you. Bincheng smiled when he saw Zhou Wanqiu. His voice was a little hoarse. Wanqiu, you're here. This time, Uncle can't take you fishing. Zhou Wanqiu's eyes suddenly turned red when she saw Bincheng's weak appearance. Last time, when she came to Lin Wengxuan's house, Bincheng took them fishing. Unexpectedly, Bincheng still remembered this. Zhou Wanqiu hurriedly said, Uncle Lin, don't worry. You will recover soon. Bincheng smiled bitterly. No. I have this strange disease, and I have a big fever every now and then. I feel like my body is almost burned out. Even my bones feel like they are about to be burned crisp. It hurts so much to stand up and walk. Zhou Wanqiu felt even more uncomfortable. She said quickly, Uncle Lin, this is my assistant and bodyguard Su Chen. His family has inherited ancient medical skills. Please ask him to take a look at you. Bincheng looked at Su Chen without any hope. He smiled and said, then I'll trouble Zhao Su. Su Chen stepped forward. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.